Good evening, everyone. So basically, in the last class, we were discussing about the French Revolution, and the topic that we were discussing was feudalism. Okay. Today, what we are going to do is we are going to complete feudalism. That is, we are going to complete end of feudalism in France. That is French Revolution. Then we will also take a look at the repercussions of the French Revolution on the rest of Europe, on the rest of the world. Plus, we will complete Napoleon today. So the analytical part, okay, agar for example today if anyone asks you that what is the meaning of this feudalism, okay, meaning of this feudalism, see actually ek thoda sa ek challenge hai. There is a challenge. What the challenge is? Challenge is of transition. If you read the Vision IS notes of pre-1754 era, where we discuss, where in those notes there is a discussion on feudalism, that is how the way feudalism was in your 1300s, 1400s, 1500s. So there the feudalism is kind of a pure kind of a feudalism. I mean, all the features of feudalism are there in that feudalism of 1300s, 1400s, 1500s. But what you have in 1789 in France is sort of a diluted version of feudalism. Okay, so for example, in the traditional feudalism, this is just for the sake of understanding. Okay, this is an analysis, so isko thora dhyan se suno. In a traditional feudalism, what happens is, let's say economy. When we discuss feudalism, traditional economy in pure feudalism, that is the feudalism which existed in 1300s, 1400s. इसमें कुछ लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. You don't have to write anything. You just have to listen and understand. So in a traditional feudal economy, what happens is that there is no interaction with the rest of the world. Meaning the trade is not going on. There are no goods which are traded between one kingdom and the other kingdom. Okay, very less trade is there. Second aspect that is there is the trade, the domestic trade. It is also pretty less. Meaning if there is a feudal lord, that is if there is a knight or if there is a earl or there is a duke and he has a huge amount of land, let's say he has 100 villages, then those 100 villages, they will be producing everything for themselves and they will be consuming all of that. They will not be engaging in any surplus production. When do you do surplus production? You do surplus. What do you mean by surplus? For example, if a farmer is doing agriculture, for his family he might be needing only very limited amount of wheat. But he does surplus production. He produces more wheat than his family needs, so that the surplus can be sold in a market. Okay. So therefore, if we look at these 100 villages as a whole, which this particular Duke 1 or Knight 1 is having, then they are not engaging in surplus production. That is the way, because someone would do surplus production if there would be an integrated market. If there will be proper domestic market, that okay, this particular area it is producing wheat extra, that particular area it is producing rice extra, that particular area it is producing spices extra, and then all of these different regions of that kingdom, they collaborate, they meet in a market and they sell their respective surplus. तो जिसके पास wheat कम था उसको wheat मिल गया, जिसके पास spices कम थी उसको spices मिल गई, this kind of thing. This is the domestic trade. So in the traditional feudalism of 1300s, 1400s, even the connectivity within the different regions of a kingdom was also very, very less. So if there is a group of 100 villages, which is let's say the estate of a lord, तो वो सब produce करेंगे जो उनको चाहिए. So if they require, let's say furniture, so they will be manufacturing furniture from their, forests which are there in those 100 villages. If they require wheat, they will be, growing that wheat, in those 100 villages. If they require any clothes, then they will be trying to sew clothes, in those 100 villages itself. So that is the traditional feudal economy. Then next aspect of the traditional feudal economy comes the ownership. So the ownership, it is completely, there is no middle class. In the pure feudalism, there is no middle class. Whereas in our French Revolution, because we are in 1789, so there we say that middle class was there, roughly 8% of the population, and that middle class had 25% of the land. Now in the 1300s, 1400s, the middle class was not there. Okay, so the ownership of all the land, it was there with the nobility, that is these earls, dukes, knights. and the masses, they were landless, right? And these masses, they were also serfs, S-E-R-F. What do you mean by serf? I mean, serfdom is something like where you say that a person is tied to the land. These things ना सिर्फ understanding के लिए, ठीक है? तो इसको बस समझना है. It is not as such part of our syllabus, but just for the sake of perspective. So majority of the population in the 1300s, 1400s, it used to be serf, S-E-R-F. What do you mean by serf? Serf would be a person who is tied to a land. What do you mean by tied to a land? He belongs to that land and he has no right to leave that piece of land forever. कभी भी नहीं वो जा सकता है. He can never leave that land. When he has children, those children, they will also be serfs, they will also be tied to that particular piece of land. They cannot leave that piece of land, they cannot go anywhere. These serfs, they are somewhat like slaves. They are somewhat like slaves because they serve whom? They serve the owner of the land. So they are tied to the land. If this is a piece of land and I am a serf, I am tied to this particular piece of land. In my daily activity, who do I serve? I serve the owner of this land. Who is the owner of this land? The lord, the nobility. If tomorrow this land is gifted by this lord to another lord, then what will happen? I belong to the land. So I am there only. Just my master has changed because this land का जो owner है वो change हो गया है. ठीक है? And I am a serf, my next generations, their next generations, next generations, all of them, they will be tied to this particular piece of land and they will be serving the master of this land, their generations. That is Lord, unka next generation, unka next generation, unka next generation. So as a result, what happens is, from the perspective of economy, I cannot leave this particular piece of land. I cannot be an entrepreneur. I cannot be a businessman. I cannot be a trader. I just cannot move away from this particular piece of land. And as a result, there will be stagnation in the economy because there is no incentive. First of all, I am not the landowner. So within the agriculture sector, मेरे को कोई incentive नहीं है कि ज़्यादा यहाँ production करूँ. Second of all, I am not allowed to leave this land. मुझे सारी उम्र वही खेती बाड़ी करनी है या फिर जो भी मेरा लॉर्ड कहेगा मैं वो करूँगा. ठीक है? That is it. So therefore, ये एक traditional feudal economy. This is a traditional feudal economy. But in 1789, we say that feudalism existed in France, and through the French Revolution of 1789, feudalism was ended in France. So एक दिमाग में बड़ा natural question आता है कि यार around the time period of 1789 trade was happening. Why? Because we have discussed in the class of world history that in 1754 your 7-year war had begun, and there one of the major concern was that the trade profits of the British, they were rising and the French, they were feeling the heat. And obviously France was also present in North America, they were present in Central America, they had plantation systems, so obviously the French, they were also trading, right? So trade to ho rahi thi. So this goes against the principle of the traditional feudalism. तो ये बात ठीक है. The problem here, it is of transition. So when we say that feudalism existed in France, we are not saying pure feudalism existed, but we are saying that for majority of the population, the feudalism did exist, even if in diluted form. So let us try to summarize the discussion in the previous class. बहुत ही संक्षिप्त में, बहुत ही ठीक तरीके से, नॉर्मल तरीके से, if we try to see that, okay, broadly, अगर मेरे को 3 लाइन में बताना हो कि what was feudalism in 1789 in France, तो मैं क्या कहूँगा? What are the 3-4 things that I will think about to develop a sense of understanding, and this will also serve like a summary of our last class. Okay, so therefore, if we look at your feudalism, this is like the summary kind of a thing. Okay. So feudalism in France. So इसके 2-3 aspect आ जाते हैं. The most important aspect of this feudalism will be economy and society. Polity, it is also a part, definitely. But always remember that in any scheme of things, the economics is very, very important. Governments come to power because they promise that under them, economy will be great. Like when Modi ji came to power, so what did he say? कि हर आदमी के खाते में 10-10 लाख रुपए आ जाएंगे. ठीक है, वो जो Harsh is saying I'm not able to understand properly, वो यहाँ पे अभी करेंगे. That was like नॉर्मल, ठीक है, दैट वाज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ द सिलेबस, तो उसके अंदर से अगर आपको 50% 60% भी समझ में आ गया तो पर्पस इज डन, ठीक है. सो व्हाट आई विल बी राइटिंग हियर, ठीक है, दैट इज व्हाट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. इफ यू हैव बीन एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट देन इट इज फाइन, ठीक है. सो इकोनॉमी इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. द गवर्नमेंट्स दे कम एंड दे गो बिकॉज ऑफ इकोनॉमी, ठीक है. तो थोड़ा समझने वाला चीज है. तो इसीलिए फ्यूडलिज्म में सबसे पहले एज इट एग्जिस्टेड इन फ्रांस. So in the case of economy, what is the thing? In the case of economy, feudalism existed in France kaise? The first point is, in the domain of economy, the ownership matters a lot. And we see that majority of the population, they are not owners of the property. 80% of the people, they are peasants. And most of those peasants, they are propertyless, they are landless. They are working, what are they doing? They are engaged in agriculture, but वो जमीन किसकी है, whose land it is, that land either belongs to clergy or it belongs to the nobility, right? So therefore, or maybe to some middle class, person, because middle class, they also have 25% of the land, they form 8% of the population. So what is the feature, अगर बहुत simple terms में देखा जाए, so with respect to economy, what is the feature of feudalism in France? The feature is majority of the population, it is what kind of activity it is doing? It is engaged in agriculture, but it is propertyless, right? So therefore, when these are propertyless, obviously they will not be having any great intent to earn profits, right? Because if I do not own property, then the tendency for me to earn profits will be less. क्यों? क्योंकि मैं जितना भी काम करूंगा मुझे तो कुछ कोई ग्रेट फायदा नहीं हो रहा है. एंड सेकंड एस्पेक्ट इज ऑल्सो देयर दैट रेंट वाज वेरी वेरी हाई. The taxes, they were very very high. 2/3 of the produce, it has to be submitted to the overlord, to the nobility as taxes, right? Plus there are high taxes, right? There are very very high taxes, right? So high taxes or other dues which are there, they are very very high. So therefore, even the middle class which owns some kind of property, even they are under huge amount of taxes, right? So as a result, there can be some kind of stagnation in the economy because of these high taxes and because of lack of property ownership. The second aspect in the economy that we see is that the second aspect in the economy is, तो majority तो ये वाला part हो गया. So does the trade exist? Yes, the trade exists, but that trade will be done by not by the majority of the population. There is a middle class, some of that middle class would be traders, so वो लोग अपना trade वगैरह कर रहे होंगे, ठीक है. So this becomes the one of the major aspect of the economy. Second aspect, it relates to what? Right to property, right? So right to property was not there. Right to property was not there, right? So there was no set principle that there is a right to property. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, पहले प्रॉपर्टी बहुत कम है, राइट? और जिनके पास है, इफ दे आर अनेबल टू पे दीज टैक्सेस, देन द गवर्नमेंट कैन कम एंड टेक दैट प्रॉपर्टी अवे. सो देयरफॉर द राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी, इट वाज नॉट देयर, राइट? द राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी, इट इज नॉट देयर. यार जो भी आपके डाउट्स हैं, हाँ वही मैं समराइज ही कर रहा हूं पूर्वी. जो भी आपके डाउट्स हैं, प्लीज सेंड टू द बैच कोऑर्डिनेटर्स, ठीक है, बिकॉज ग्रेजुअली आवर सिलेबस विल बी गैदरिंग मोमेंटम. तो वो उस तरीके से स्ट्रक्चर है, वो वैसे ही हम फॉलो करेंगे, ठीक है. नहीं तो मुझे भी डांट पड़ जाती है जब मैं आपके क्वेश्चन डायरेक्टली वहां से ले लेता हूं, राइट? सेकेंड एस्पेक्ट इज देयर इज नो राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी. देयर इज एज सच स्पेसिफाइड वे में कोई इस तरीके से कोई राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी नहीं है, ठीक है. सो अब राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी का क्या मतलब है? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ देयर आर हाई टैक्सेस एंड आई एम अ मिडिल क्लास पर्सन, देन माई प्रॉपर्टी कैन बी टेकन अवे बाय द स्टेट एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, right? There can be deprivation of property and no legal procedure will be followed. Like in today in the US, what is the right to property? Right to property is that property cannot be denied without due process of law. When we discussed the American Revolution, there we mentioned that one of the radical feature of the American Revolution was right to property. And what does that mean? Property rights. That is, there cannot be any denial of property to a person without due process of law, without following due process of law. तो that means कि there is a law, and until unless some kind of feature in that law allows taking away your property cannot be taken away. But in this case, there is no such kind of a thing. So when we say no right to property, that is the meaning of it, right? So therefore, the law is not of exception, that there is a right to property except in these cases. तो ऐसा कोई सिनारियो नहीं है. There is arbitrariness is there in the law. Okay, so that is one of the aspects. Second aspect that we look is in the domain of society. So in the domain of society, what we have learned so far, we see that the society, it is divided into 3 estates, and there are these special privileges which are available to the first estate and the second estate. There are special privileges which are available to the first estate and the second estate, right? So what do we see? There is inequality in the society, very high inequality in the society, and there are certain privileged sections of the society which are too powerful. Who are they? The first estate, that is the clergy, and the second estate, that is the nobility. There is high inequality in the society, और ये किस तरीके से, इसका प्रूफ क्या है? Society is divided into the 3 estates, and the first and the second estate, they have special privileges, right? What are these special privileges? For example, it is a privilege that the first estate and the second estate, they will not be paying any taxes. All the taxes are to be paid by the third estate. What is the third estate? The common man. The traders, the lawyers, the doctors, the peasants, the workers, the artisans. They are the third estate. So therefore, what is a special privilege? Special privilege is no taxation. There is no equality of taxation. So therefore, just because, and it is based on what? It is based on birth. Just because I am born into a nobility class, I will not be paying taxes, right? So therefore, this is the problem. So no equality of taxation. Only the third estate paid taxes. Then second aspect comes no equality before law. Okay, that can be clubbed as part of the society. It can be clubbed as part of polity as well. But society में अगर देखें, so there is no equality before law. If a crime is conducted by a nobility, the rules will be different. If a crime is conducted by a clergy, the rules will be different. And if the crime it is conducted by any other particular person from third estate, the rules will be different. So therefore, there is no equality before law. There is no equality before law. There is also another aspect with respect to this privileges. It's a privileges related nahi hai, but there is also another aspect of this particular thing. The aspect is that there is no rule of law. There is no rule of law. So when we are saying that no equality before law, what are we basically saying? We are saying there is no rule of law. Okay, so ऐसा नहीं कि law के हिसाब से चीजों को देखा जाएगा, ठीक है? So that is also another aspect. Plus यहाँ पे लिख सकते हैं no rule of law. Because for having a rule of law, you need to have one single law. You need to have a unified law. कि इस देश में, इस kingdom में ये law है. फ्रांस में प्रॉब्लम क्या थी? फ्रांस में प्रॉब्लम ये थी, द लॉ विल चेंज इफ यू ट्रैवल 10 kilometers. The law will change. The law will change if you travel even further 5 kilometers. The law will change if you travel even further 7 kilometers. So this is an account by a traveler that in France the law changes. If you are traveling, then in France the law changes every 10 kilometers. That kind of thing. What are we saying? We are saying that there is no single law on the basis of which you can govern the whole population. So therefore the law is not codified. You have not codified a law की एक single law, जैसे यूनिवर्सल सिविल कोड बोला जाता है, ठीक है? तो एक single law नहीं है जो कि मतलब यहाँ पे if I have committed a theft in Delhi, then the punishment is 5 years. If I have committed a theft in Haryana, then the punishment is 10 years. If I have committed a theft in Bihar, the punishment is 12 years. Right? And so and what qualifies that? Basically the point here is that there was no unified law. Simply we can write there was no unified law and there was no codified law. Meaning is, for example, if I have committed an act, whether that act is a crime or not, and what is the magnitude of that crime, no one knows. Who will decide? The judges will decide. समझ रहे हो आप? When there is no law, when there is no clear law, what happens if I committed an act? You get aggrieved by that act. You take me to the court. अब कोर्ट में अब मुझे नहीं पता, आपको लगता है मैंने कुछ गलत किया, मुझे लगता है मैंने कुछ गलत ही नहीं किया. कोर्ट डिसाइड करेगा. और वो क्या लॉ के बेसिस पे डिसाइड करेगा? नहीं, वो अपनी मर्जी से डिसाइड करेगा, अपनी डिस्क्रिशन से डिसाइड करेगा. और दिस जजशिप इट कैन बी परचेज्ड. पैसा देख के लोग जज बन सकते हैं. सो देयरफॉर दिस इज ऑल्सो अ पार्ट ऑफ लाइक रूल ऑफ लॉ, इसको का पार्ट बोल सकते हैं. सो नो यूनिफाइड लॉ एंड नो कॉडिफाइड लॉ. एंड एक और चीज इस पे क्या बोल सकते हैं? दैट योर no codified law plus judgeship. Discretion of the judges plus what we are saying that the judgeship it can be purchased, was purchasable. ये last class में भी लिखवाया था कुछ but this is like just to develop a re-perspective for this particular thing. Then when we look at the polity, so polity वाला part same है जैसे last class में लिखवाया था. So therefore in the domain of polity what do you see? There is no concept of self-government, there is no parliament, there is no modern polity of any kind, right? So there is a monarchy. So this is how I think is there. Another kind of inequality is there. एक और चीज याद आ गई, ये last class में लिखवाई थी, as I mentioned earlier also, that in the military and the bureaucracy only the nobility can be there. The common man cannot become an officer in the bureaucracy. Right? So therefore this is the situation. They can only be nobles, right? So therefore this is how in summary एक broad mind में picture बनानी हो, so this way you can think of, right? So therefore this is how your progress is there. Now you can come with your questions. So अभी आप ये दिखा दीजिए. There were a lot of questions which I was not able to take. So please forward your questions to the batch coordinators, or the batch coordinators they can copy the text etc. I'll take the questions. Questions में कोई problem नहीं. No self-government means that there is no democracy, no elections are there. People are not, electing their representatives. That means self-government, lack of self-government. So today, for example, in India, we choose our prime minister, we choose our members of parliaments, right? The members of the parliament, then they choose, the head of this, the real head of the state. So therefore, that is self-government. Okay. So this is how your things are there. So broadly, ये है, ठीक है? Please write this down. Yes, okay. I'll be using a dark marker for this. ठीक है. तो अब आ जाते हैं स्टोरी पे. नाउ लेट अस कम टू द स्टोरी. तो हुआ क्या? नाउ apart from this particular aspects, what was the situation or what were the events which resulted in this French Revolution? So what actually happened, right? So basically around the time period of this 1789, if you look at the economy, so economy wise, all of these things are there. But apart from that, specifically what had happened in 1788, one of the worst famine, F-A-M-I-N-E, was one of the worst famine, it had hit France and specifically Paris. What is famine? Famine means when there is shortage of food and people are, dying of hunger. So one of the worst famines, it happened in 1788, 1789. Okay, so the people of France there and people of Paris, they were very, very, under a huge amount of this kind of a tension, okay, because of this famine. That is one of the aspect. The second aspect was that at a country level, if we look, then in 1789, at a country level, the economy of France was suffering a lot. Can any student tell me, आप इतनी सारी बातें करते हैं, is there any clergy preference in traditional feudalism? Yes, clergy is very, very powerful in feudalism. Okay, clergy is very, very powerful in feudalism. They can burn you, they can call you a witch and they can burn you as a witch. Right? So clergy is very, very powerful in feudalism. Right? But feudalism can exist in such societies also where the clergy is not there. So feudalism, it is not limited to, it is not must ki clergy hona hi chahiye. Okay, anyways, can any student tell me that why the economy of France, it would be down in 1789? आप इतनी सारी बातें करते हो चैट पे, कोई ये भी बता दो कि कोई अभी तक हमने जितना सिलेबस डिस्कस किया है, कैन एनी स्टूडेंट टेल मी दैट व्हाई द इकोनॉमी ऑफ फ्रांस इट विल बी वेरी, वेरी डाउन एट दैट पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम? Because the connection of this particular point is when the economy of a country is down, the brunt of that is faced by the people. French helped the 13 colonies by funding, 13 colonies were helped. Yeah. So yes, you are right. So basically the point is around the time period, yes, around the time period of 1789, yes, you are giving right answers, great. Around the time period of 1789, what are the events which have taken place? The events, as the students are mentioning, the events which had taken place was, first of all, the 7-year war 1754 to 63. And in that 7-year war of 1754 to 63, the French, they lost. Why did they lost? See, the first, what do you mean by an economic loss? Yes, you're right. The meaning of the economic loss is simple. When the war began, the French, they had some territories in North America, plus they had their sugar islands in Central America. During the war, huge amount of expenditure will be done. And after the war, what is the net result? वो expenditure तो सारा का सारा हो गया, plus we have lost our territories in North America. We are able to retain our Central America, but we have lost some territory, plus this huge amount of war expenditure has happened. The second aspect is that as the students are mentioning, during the American Revolution, especially the American War of Independence from 1776 to 1783, the French, they assisted the settlers, the European settlers of the 13 colonies in their war against Britain, the colonial power. They gave them arms, they gave them money, they also supplied soldiers. So again we see, and what did France gain from this American Revolution? As such, monetarily, it was a completely loss-making adventure. So therefore, yes, geopolitically maybe they gained that the Britishers, they were relatively now less powerful, but monetary costs, they were there. Right? So therefore, as a result, what is happening is that by the time period of 1783, the economy of France, it is pretty damaged because of these two big wars. Right? Plus, they have lost out on the trade benefits which will be coming from India, because we know that 1760, the Battle of Vendewash, the French, they were wiped out from India, and India was a very, very important country for trade. So therefore, economy wise, we see that there is a huge amount of dent among the French by the time period of 1783. Right? Then what do you see? Around the time period of 1788, this particular famine takes place. So therefore, economy, it is down. And when the economy is down, obviously the people, they are hurt. Ultimately, the people, they are hurt. At this point of time, the taxes are also very, very high. Right? The monarchy, or the state, it is under huge amount of debt. Why? Because huge amount of war expenditure. What is the earning of a state? The earning of the state are the tax revenue. If I am under debt, how I'll be able to overcome the shortage of cash? By getting more income. What is the income of the state? The income of the state are the taxes which they levy on the people. So therefore, around the time period of 1789, with this background, the monarchy, it was pressurized, or it was, monarchy, it was under problem. Nobility ने monarchy को बोला कि यार आपको जो है tax बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. And therefore, around the time period of 1789, the monarchy, it wanted to raise taxes. So look at the situation, economy already down, a famine is going on, and at this particular point of time, the monarchy, it is trying to raise the taxes, right? But it knows, that these taxes, they will be opposed by the masses. Why? Because only the third estate pays the taxes. तो nobility ने तो बड़ी आसानी से कह दिया, the nobility said that, increase the taxes, but the brunt of that decision, the burden of that increase in taxes, it will fall on the third estate and not on the clergy, that is the first estate, not on the nobility, that is the second estate. Right? So therefore the king, he expected opposition, और तब इन्होंने कहा कि चलो let us call a meeting of estates general. Let us call a meeting of estates general. Estates general क्या था? It was a body where representatives of the three estates, they would come together and they would meet. So king ने कहा कि यार इस decision को ना मुझे थोड़ा सा democratic रखना है, तो let us call a meeting of three estates, और फिर उन सबसे decision करा लेंगे, तो मेरे decision की legitimacy हो जाएगी कि taxes को increase करना है. ठीक है? So a meeting of of this estates general, it was called. ठीक है? अब ये केस टाइप ऑफ मोनार्क है, ये मोनार्क है किंग लुई 16. द नेम ऑफ द मोनार्क इज किंग लुई 16. एंड व्हाट इज द प्रोफाइल ऑफ किंग लुई 16? देयर इज अ फेमस डायलॉग बाय a famous statement by King Louis XVI, and he said, brain work tires me. Brain work tires me. क्या ज्यादा सोच के, मैं राजा हूं, ठीक है, I am a king. The king is not the, king is there to rule. The king, if I am born a king, I'm there to enjoy. ये सब मेरे को टेंशन नहीं लेना है. तुम देखो भाई nobility वगैरह, you look at all of these things. So basically he was a person who was not interested in welfare of the people. He was a person who was uninterested in administration. That is his profile. Plus he had a wife, Queen Marie Antoinette. Now Queen Marie Antoinette की image कैसी थी? Queen Marie Antoinette को कहा जाता था Madame Det. Madame Det. M-A-D-A-M-E-D-E-B-T. Madame Det. Why? She was famous for, luxurious living, extravagant living. When people are dying on the streets of Paris because of famine, she is throwing parties. मैं भूखा मर रहा हूं, मुझे वहां से, मुझे आवाज आ रही है महल से कि, वहां पार्टी चल रही है, लोग हंस रहे हैं, प्लस, फ्लैम्बॉयंट, पूरा सब कुछ फ्लैम्बॉयंट लाइफस्टाइल. सो देयरफॉर उनका नाम दे दिया गया मैडम डेट. डेट मींस दैट देयर इज सो मच. डेट कब होता है? व्हेन एक्सपेंडिचर इज हाई एंड इनकम इज लेस. तो इफ फ्रांस इज अंडर डेट, देन वन ऑफ द कंट्रीब्यूशन इज द एक्सट्रावेगेंट लिविंग बाय द monarchy, and especially Madame Det, that is Queen Marie Antoinette. Right? So therefore people hated Queen Marie Antoinette. They hated. And such a kind of monarchy, it wants to raise the taxes when the famine is there, when all of these things are going on. Third aspect, the irony. Irony that in the American War of Independence, France incurred huge amount of monetary, burden. And why? Many of the French soldiers also died. Why? Because we were fighting for their independence. And why the Americans were fighting for their independence? Why the settlers were fighting for their independence? Because they were fighting against no taxation without representation. They were fighting for no taxation without representation. They were fighting for self-government, that we will be ruled by us only. The Britain monarchy, it cannot rule us. They cannot rule us. There will be self-government. And now, अब ये French लोगों ने सोचा कि यार, in France, is there taxation with representation, or there is taxation without representation? So elections तो होते नहीं है. When elections are not there, I am not the one who is having a right to vote. I am not the one who has elected any member of parliament. There is no member of parliament. And therefore, the elected head of the state who is taking all of these decisions, whether to raise the taxes or what should be the level of the taxes or who should pay the taxes, should only third estate pay the taxes? That person is not elected by me. I am not represented in that body which takes the decision about this taxation. So yeah, taxation without representation is there in France also. So when French soldiers can die, when our country, it can fight for someone else's demand for no taxation without representation, what about our no taxation without representation? Very ironical. You know, the people of the 13 colonies, they are fighting against colonialism. They want to be independent so that they can have self-government. Now, France is not under any colonialism. France is a kingdom, independent kingdom, but do the people have self-government? Do they choose their representatives? No, they are ruled by a monarch, and the people, they have no say that who will be the monarch or who will be their rulers. So therefore the people, they do not have any say. So this irony also functioned, plus combined with it this particular factor. क्या factor? कि भैया enlightenment thoughts of all those thinkers, भाई वो कहाँ से आए? Some of the enlightenment thinkers, they will be there in the 13 colonies, but most of those enlightenment thinkers, they were there in Europe. So therefore that enlightenment कि भैया there should be self-government, there should be separation of power, there should be no taxation without representation, all of these ideas, there should be democracy, all of these ideas, there should be right to property, there should be right to liberty, there should be right to life. All of these ideas, they were also impacting the middle classes of France as well. So in this context, ये सारे context में the king, he calls a meeting of the 3 estates. ठीक है कि चलो decide करेंगे. Now what is the problem? The problem is in this estates general, one vote it is given to the first estate, one vote it is given to the second estate, and one vote it is given to the third estate. Therefore obviously since only the third estate would have to pay the taxes, these people have obviously, they are in favor of raising the taxes, okay, because they are nobility, they are the actual rulers. ये तो bureaucracy संभालते हैं, ये military संभालते हैं, king तो uninterested है governance में. सेकेंड एस्टेट फर्स्ट एस्टेट मतलब क्लर्जी, सेकेंड एस्टेट मतलब नोबिलिटी. अब जो क्लर्जी है उसको तो वैसे ही कोई टैक्स नहीं देना है. वो हर 5 साल में द क्लर्जी यूज्ड टू गिव सम काइंड ऑफ ब्राइब टू द किंग एंड दे यूज्ड टू से कि अच्छा यार हमसे टैक्स मत लेना, ठीक है. तो एनीवे द फर्स्ट एस्टेट एंड द सेकेंड एस्टेट, दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू पे एनी टैक्सेस. द टैक्सेस आर गोइंग टू बी पेड बाय द थर्ड एस्टेट. इफ अ वोटिंग टेक्स प्लेस इन द एस्टेट्स जनरल, देन ऑब्वियसली वन वोट दे विल विन. तो मीनिंग क्या हुआ? व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ मीटिंग? व्हेन यू ऑलरेडी नो द डिसीजन, देन व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ वोटिंग? राइट. सो देयरफॉर इट रिजल्टेड इन सम काइंड ऑफ एजिटेशन बाय द थर्ड एस्टेट. Okay, it resulted in some kind of agitation by the third estate. We will take a look at it. Before we move on, let us summarize whatever we have discussed so far. So we are going to discuss the reason for the French Revolution. So general long term reason, क्योंकि ये feudalism बहुत टाइम से exist कर ही रहा था, तो एक general एक एजिटेशन कह लो, जनरल एक समस्या जो है, ठीक है, जनरल प्रॉब्लम जो कि सोसाइटी है, जैसी सोसाइटी है, तो फ्यूडलिज्म. तो इन सब में जो हमने सारी चीजें डिस्कस करी उसका एक समरी आप टाइप्स लिख सकते हैं. राइट. दैट इज मेन फीचर उसमें रहेगा दैट ओनली द थर्ड एस्टेट वाज द टैक्स पेयर, स्पेशल प्रिविलेजेस फॉर द फर्स्ट एस्टेट एंड द सेकंड एस्टेट. राइट. सो देयरफॉर दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ थिंग. द सेकंड एस्पेक्ट दैट वी सी इज इफ वी लुक एट द इकोनॉमिक रीजंस. So simply economic reason, high taxes are there, only the third estate pays the taxes, वो आप feudalism में लिख दोगे. French economy under stress, 1788-89, one of the worst famines hit France, right? So this aspect that we have already mentioned. Right, so these are the political reasons. Apart from this, what you can also mention. So what I've written, unpopular monarchy, King Louis XVI not interested in administration, Queen Marie Antoinette, also known as Madame Dad by people because unpopular for extravagance, influence of Enlightenment thoughts, example inalienable rights, no taxation without representation, self-government, etc., etc. Irony not missed by the French people, that is no democracy is there at home, but French fought for democracy abroad, that is American Revolution 1776 to 1783. So therefore these are the immediate events which are happening. So therefore at this particular point of time, now what happens is meeting of Estates General, right? So this point we have mentioned why it is called. Right, called by the king because wants legitimacy for decision of raising taxes. Okay, so therefore this is what happens. But the issue is Issue is one vote each to each estate, plus only third estate bears the tax burden. So that is the issue of the third estate. Okay. So therefore, that is why your third estate will be having problems. So this much you write down. After that, we will begin the, we'll continue the story ahead. So I'll give you a couple of minutes for this. पहले यहाँ से यहाँ तक आप दिखा दीजिए. Year of meeting is 1789. Please let me know once you have written this much, then I'll shift the camera to the right. Shreya, I will zoom out once the students, they tell me that they have written. I've already given 1 minute. I expect in another 15 seconds you would be writing. It's not iron, it's irony. Done. Okay, move to the right. Right कर दीजिए. ये small हाँ बस इतना ठीक है. Okay, idhar. See, I'm making all of these efforts of writing down on the board. The reason for that is that in the past years, not a lot of questions have come from the world history, especially in the last year. Otherwise, usually 2 questions come. So therefore, I want to make your time worthy as possible. That if you have come here, तो आपको आपके session खत्म होने के बाद आपको ज़्यादा effort ना लगाना पड़ेगा. Otherwise, I could make my work very easy by bringing the PPTs and just going home. ठीक है? तो इस वजह से please write all of this down that I'm writing. I'm putting the effort for you. मुझे अपने लिए कुछ नहीं. Okay, now what happens? Now the story goes like this. Now the third estate leadership. Who is the leadership of third estate? The leadership of the third estate are the middle classes, because they are the ones who are rich, because they are the lawyers, they are the doctors, so they are rich. They are also landowners. Okay, so therefore these are the yes, one vote. But overall one vote. So if there are 100 voters, then the net weightage will be there is like 1 weightage. Weightage is 1. So that is the kind of thing. So value of each vote will be 1 by 100, that kind of a thing. So now the third estate start agitating. उन्होंने कहा यार ये तो बड़ी गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. ये तो the first estate, the clergy, it is loyal to the king. They will vote in favor of raising the taxes. The second estate, उनको तो taxes pay करना ही नहीं है. So they will also vote for raising the taxes. And therefore हमारी vote तो सिर्फ एक ही है. So therefore now they start agitating that at least to have some kind of balance, please allow us twice the number of votes. मतलब if first estate का वोट को 1 किया जा रहा है कंसिडर, सेकेंड estate का वोट को 1 किया जा रहा है कंसिडर, then weightage given to or the number of voters which should be there from the number of representatives which should be there from the third estate, they should be twice, so that at least 50-50 kind of a thing is there. So that some kind of discussion at least can take place. Maybe once जब हम जिरह करेंगे, maybe we are able to convince the some of the representatives of the first estate and the second estate that no, do not raise the taxes, or if you are raising the taxes, then do not raise them to that extent. So at least allow us some kind of parity, so that the vote available with the third estate is equal to the vote available with the first estate plus the vote available with the second estate. They agitate for this, and the king, he agrees that okay, I will be giving, you will be able to send twice the number of representatives to the estate general. So therefore now the third estate is somewhat relieved कि चलो we will be, let's imagine we will be 50% of the voters and first and the second estate will be rest of the 50% of the voters. We can have some debate, some discussion. But then there is backstabbing. There is backstabbing by the nobility. Nobility convinces the king that see you should change this rule. Meaning, although we have told the third estate that you can send twice the number of representatives, the new rule is that each representative will have half the vote. Meaning, earlier if there were 100 representatives, now there are 200 representatives. Each representative will have half a vote. The net result is what? Total vote cast, it is still 100 only. Right? So therefore this backstabbing was there. When the representatives of the third estate, they reached the meeting of the estate general. After that, these representatives, when they started agitating, they were also locked in a room. Right? The net result is that after this particular, the meeting of the estate general, it failed. And these representatives of the third estate, they, उन्होंने बगावत कर दी and they came out. They rebelled and they came out where? They came and sat in the royal tennis court. Royal tennis court means the palace of the king. It had, badminton court, tennis court होगा. तो वहां पे आके वो लोग बैठ गए. And then they declared that we are the National Assembly. We are the National Assembly. This sentence is very, very important. We are the National Assembly. ठीक है? तो इस sentence को discuss करेंगे. So now let us look at the events. So what I have written, ये तो simple सी चीज लिखी है. Meeting of the estate general, third estate secured twice representation, but king decided that each member of third estate will have half a vote, therefore nullifying any benefit. The reps means the representatives. The representatives of the third estate gathered in the royal tennis court and declared themselves the National Assembly. See, what is the meaning of this word National Assembly? The meaning of this word National Assembly is this particular concept of national. This particular thing gave the third estate is now giving France the concept of nation. What is the meaning of the word nation? Nation means summation of people who feel one. Nation means summation of people who feel one. Before this particular decision that we are the National Assembly, what was the concept in France? France is a country which is summation of three estates. That is, some set of people are different, some set of people are different, some set of people are different. Now, what is the third estate saying? Third estate is giving the concept of nation. They are saying that France, it is a nation of, it is a nation. It means summation of people who feel one. So therefore, they are giving the modern meaning to the word nation. So therefore, what is the impact or what is the importance of this particular thing, that National Assembly? The importance first is gave nation its modern meaning. What is the meaning? The meaning is nation is summation of people who feel one. What do you mean by summation of people who feel one? What is the meaning? The meaning here is that nation does not mean territory. Nation means people. Till this point of time, there could be a conception. मतलब अगर मैं आपसे ही पूछूं कि okay, what is a nation? Some of you might say that कि सर ये जो जमीन है इंडिया की, the land of India, you know, that is the country, nation, they are the same thing. No, they are different. Country means land, nation means people, right? And people who feel one. That's why, you know, India, you know, कहते हैं ना, India is a nation in the making. It is a very famous dialogue. You know, what a dialogue, it is a very famous saying. India is a nation in the making. Okay, so Gokhale said this, that India is a nation in the making. What do you mean by nation in the making? Nation in the making means that the feeling of oneness, you know, that is, you know, yet to come. There are still many differences among all of us. So therefore, unity, that is the concept. So basically, what is the meaning? Summation of people who feel one. So therefore, the word people becomes important. That is, nation is equal to people and not territory. That is one aspect. कि nation का मतलब लोग हैं, जमीन नहीं. And what is the second important aspect? Second important aspect is, look at the name. Name is National Assembly. Whereas the name of this particular body was Estates General. Estates General was summation of representatives of 3 estates. It was summation of representatives of 3 estates. Whereas National Assembly is what? It is representing all the people of France. Meaning, what these people are saying is that we are bringing equality in France, we are ending class privileges in France. You be a noble, you be a clergy, you be a merchant, you be a worker, you be a peasant. All of you are simply just French. All of you are going to have same rights. All of you are going to be equal before law. There are going to be no special privileges, because now France is summation of people who feel one, and each person is equal with equal rights and equal privileges, no special privileges. They gave nation its modern meaning, that is, nation is summation of people who feel one. That is, nation is people and not the territory. And second, they are giving the concept of equality, that is, all men are equal, implying no special privileges to nobility or the clergy, right? So therefore, these people, they come together, they give a document which is known as Rights of Man and Citizen. Okay, so like in the case of American Revolution, you had Declaration of Independence. In the case of French Revolution, you have Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. So this particular document, it is there, it is given, the highlights of this particular document, they are given in your notes of the Vision IAS, right? I will also maybe send across a PPT, उसमें कुछ नहीं है इसके अंदर. These are very, very same. These are very, very similar to the Declaration of Independence, right? Just that the concept of independence is not there. What is the broad concepts? इसके बता देते हैं. What are the broad or highlights? ठीक है? What does it stress? It stresses on equality. That is, it is ending any class privileges to the, it is ending the estate system, it is ending all special privileges. That is the first concept it says is equality, it focuses on equality. Second aspect it says is equality before law and equality of taxation. So here in this equality you can mention no special privileges. So वो पहले भी लिखाई है. The second aspect is equality before law. Okay. Apart from this, what do you say? Obviously, in the Declaration of Independence, the Enlightenment thoughts आया था. उसमें क्या था? Your right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So similarly, in this scenario also, they will be talking about certain inalienable rights, right to life, right to liberty, right? So therefore, they are also talking about fundamental rights. That all men they have fundamental rights, right? They have fundamental rights, right? So they are talking about right to property. And this fundamental rights, they include right to property, right to life, right to liberty. Property, life, and liberty. So basically, these are the things that they are basically talking about. And basically, what this document is doing, in nutshell, this document is saying that we are ending feudalism. In short, they declared end of feudalism in France. And after, so basically this document, it becomes the intent. It becomes the intent. After declaring this intent, this is like the preamble. Like in Constitution of India, you have a preamble. So this document, that is Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen, this is somewhat also like a preamble. Because it declares the intent that what kind of a system they want to now have in France. And after this, the third estate declares that now we are the National Assembly, and we are going to draft a constitution which will have no place for feudalism and which will have all of these components which we are declaring in the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. So we are going to have a constitution where everyone will be equal, there will not be any feudalism. Right? So therefore when they declare is this, so सबसे ज़्यादा टेंशन किसको होगी? Tell me, सबसे ज़्यादा टेंशन किसको होगी? So these are the things which I have mentioned. So ये तो सब declare बता ही दिया था. Gave document, Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. What are the things? First is equality, that everyone will be equal. That means no special privileges. Second, equality before law, that there is going to be rule of law. Third, there will be fundamental rights, that is property, life, liberty. Okay? So therefore this is how it is. Then in short, what they are saying, that we are declaring end of feudalism. Plus, with respect to modern polity, what do they say? They say that we are going to bring a new constitution, right? So we are the National Assembly. We are going to draft a new constitution. National Assembly to draft a constitution which will give effect to this Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. Now the French, they are very famous for, like romance. So therefore you can have a mnemonic that if the Americans they gave Declaration of Independence, then the French they gave Declaration of Romance. Rights of Man and Citizen. Romance. Okay. So therefore this is how what you can talk about. Okay. So for okay, तो इस तरीके से इन्होंने किया. Now after this, what are the events which are taking place? As soon as they declare that we are going to have a constitution which is going to ban, which is going to end the special privileges, nobility came under tension, right? Nobility came under tension and they persuaded the king that you should send your soldiers to disband the National Assembly. So therefore the king directed his soldiers that okay, go and attack these representatives of the third estate. go and disband the National Assembly. Now when the soldiers they came to disband the National Assembly, so basically Charan, ठीक है, तो चरण जैसा एक लौंडा था वहां पे, ठीक है, चरण was there as a representative of third estate. चरण decided कि भैया मैं तो एकदम से यहां से, ठीक है, I'm going to simply run away from this third estate, from this National Assembly, this meeting that is taking place, and I'm going to go where? I'm going to tell the people of Paris. I'm going to tell the people of Paris that your representatives have been attacked by the soldiers of the king. And as soon as Charan tells, the people of Paris that, the king has attacked the representatives of the third estate, suddenly there is an eruption. This news spread like anything all across Paris, right? And suddenly there is an eruption of the people. And what do the people do? The people, they now go on and they will attack the symbols of authority. They will attack the symbols of feudalism. What are the symbols of feudalism? They will go and attack the houses of the nobles. They will go and attack the property of the nobles. They will do violence against the nobles. So पूरे Paris में इस तरीके से हाहाकार मच जाएगा. Plus what do they do? There was a Bastille prison, B-A-S-T-I-L-L-E, Bastille prison. Now in that Bastille prison was broken up. It was overrun by the people of Paris. Okay, and कुछ ऐसा नहीं था that there was some very notorious criminals which were present in the Bastille prison जिनको आजाद करके गए थे कुछ ज्यादा वो करना. Actually in the Bastille prison there was an expectation that there will be arms and ammunition there in the Bastille prison. So therefore the people, they are deciding that we are going to pick up arms against the king to protect our representatives of the third estate. And therefore the day 14th of July 1789, when Bastille prison it is overrun, it is seized by the people, that particular day it is known as the official beginning of the revolution. That is, official beginning of the French Revolution is 14th of July of 1789. Official beginning is not the representatives of the third estate declaring themselves National Assembly. Official beginning is when the people, they come out on the street to revolt. Then you call it a revolution. So when people, they throw open the Bastille prison, it becomes, it is of great symbolic value. That Bastille prison, it is representing the state, it is representing the king, and the people, they have overrun it with an intention to take up arms against the monarchy or against the system, that is against the nobility, right? So therefore that day 14th of July 1789, when Bastille prison it is overrun, that is the official day of the beginning of the French Revolution. तो इस चीज को भी लिख लेते हैं. So therefore what I have written that attack on National Assembly by the soldiers of the king under the influence of the nobility. After this there is spread of this news. Then there is a spontaneous outburst of the people in Paris. What do? They attack the property of the nobility. Once they attack the property of the nobility, after that they will burn the records of the debt, that is the money which is due, जो उन्हें पे करता है, ठीक है, वो सब करते हैं. Third, they throw open Bastille prison on 14th of July 1789 to seize arms. This day it marks the beginning of the French Revolution 1789. Also another point I would like to highlight, this National Assembly, okay, or this particular National Assembly. So what is the importance? This is the importance that we mentioned. Plus this National Assembly is now what? It is also a constituent assembly, because it is declaring that we will be making a constitution, we will be drafting a constitution. So therefore it is a constituent assembly. And in this constituent assembly, who are they? The representatives of the third estate. The third estate, it represents majority of the population of France. So therefore this constituent assembly is going to do what? Government of the people. It is going, the people are deciding that what kind of a system that we are going to have. The people, the representatives of the people, they are going to decide what kind of constitution we are going to have. So therefore this marks, that's why this National Assembly, it is also a constituent assembly. ठीक है, तो इतना हमको पता रहना चाहिए. So therefore once there is such huge mass upsurge by the people, right? So therefore now the nobility, the king, etc., they realize that they have no chance. And therefore after this what happens? The National Assembly, it starts legislating the constitution, right? It starts legislating laws, it starts legislating the constitution, and what it does, it basically over a period of time, it ends the feudalism. So basically, for example, such laws are brought which end feudalism. For example, क्या abolish किया, right? So after this you can write down the National Assembly, NA, starts legislating. Plus begins the work on new constitution. New constitution क्या मतलब पहला constitution, right? So therefore they start legislating and they begin the work on constitution. इन्होंने क्या क्या काम किया? इनके काम क्या क्या थे? Work they did, right? So basically they are abolishing all of these things, right? अच्छा, इसमें एक और एक चीज लिख सकते हैं. They also seize the lands of the first and the second estate. ठीक है, उनकी जमीन वगैरह पे कब्जा कर लिया. ठीक है, so this is it. So basically what they are doing, they are basically abolishing these people through law. They will be abolishing feudalism. And what do you mean by abolishing feudalism? When they are abolishing feudalism, then they are abolishing the hated taxes. For example, they will be abolishing tithe. They will be abolishing taille, right? So tithe was 1/10 of the revenue to be given to the clergy by every landowner. Okay, taille was a tax which was to be paid only by the third estate. So therefore these were the hated taxes, they will be abolished. Right, taille, tithe, etc. They are the things. Second very important aspect that they are doing is, like in the case of India, what happened? In the case of India also similar situation is there. See, what is the parallel with India? The parallel with India is, in India there was zamindari system. In the zamindari system, what was the situation? There used to be a big zamindar. He was the owner of all the lands, right? After independence, we abolished the zamindari systems. What did we say? We said the actual cultivator of the land will henceforth be the owner of the land, right? So therefore, if I was a zamindar and let's say if I have 1,000 acres of land, right, and all the farmers who are working on that piece of land, they are tenants, okay, simple, and I am the owner. But now after abolition of zamindari, a cap is put on my land holding, and it is said that the actual cultivator of the land will be the owner of the land. So the same kind of thing it is happening with the ending of feudalism in France after the French Revolution. So the steps they are taking, they are very, very similar to abolition of zamindari system in India. कैसे? In France also the actual cultivator of land, he was not the owner of land. So therefore, now what is being said? It is being said that the lands which are the actual cultivator of the land, he is being made the owner of the land. That means what happens is land redistribution. The major economic result of abolition of feudalism is land redistribution, land ownership redistribution. Now the actual cultivator, he becomes the land owner. So therefore, who benefited the most from the French Revolution? The peasantry benefited the most from the French Revolution. The actual cultivator became the landowner. That is, land redistribution was the effect. इससे क्या हो रहा है? लैंड रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो रहा है, ठीक है, इससे लैंड रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो रहा है. प्लस अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, ऑल ऑफ द थिंग्स व्हिच यू मेंशन्ड इन द फ्यूडलिज्म इन द फर्स्ट क्लास, ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स आर रिमूव्ड. इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ इज ब्रॉट, द गेम लॉज, ठीक है, व्हिच प्रिवेंट पीपल फ्रॉम hunting, they are removed, right? So therefore all of those things, buying of judgeship, etc., all of these things, they are abolished, okay? So etc., etc., basically you can now refer to the components of feudalism which were mentioned in the first class. In the previous class. So वो सारी चीजें हटा दिया जाता है, ठीक है? When they are saying abolish feudalism, so all of these things they are not removed. And what is the major component of all of this? बाकी चलो लिख लेते हैं. Major component is, as we have mentioned, they are ending any kind of special privileges, ठीक है? End of special privileges. Everyone is equal. That becomes the major component. So therefore, this much you can write down. Also, we will go on a small break of 8 minutes. Right, so this much you write down. आधा आधा करके आप दिखा दीजिएगा. We'll meet in 8 minutes. पहले आप इधर दिखा दो. Bastille prison, it was a prison. NA is National Assembly, obviously. Right, so यहां तक दिखा दो. इतना तो आ ही जाएगा मेरे ख्याल से. ठीक है, आप अपने हिसाब से देख लीजिए. ठीक है, so we'll meet in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, you can write this one. Also, if you have any doubts, please send across to the batch coordinators. I love taking your doubts, just that we need to do it in an organized manner. Okay. There is a question. Aditi is asking, can people from first estate join bureaucracy or military? So who is there in the first estate? In the first estate, clergy is there. What do you mean by clergy? Clergy are basically bishops, right? So they are the bishops, padri, papacy, ठीक है? Basically they are the, वो religious लोग हैं, church के officials हैं. So therefore जो church के officials हैं, they will be taking, उनका काम तो religion वाला है ना? So they are the ones who are the representatives of the church. So why they will want to join bureaucracy? Why they will want to join military? But yes, there were certain advisors, religious advisors, there were certain representatives of the clergy who were part of the court of the king. Court of the king means king का जो कैबिनेट था उसमें एडवाइजर के तौर पे वो होते थे. बट अदरवाइज अब एक कोई पंडित है, ठीक है, कोई किसी मंदिर का कोई पंडित है या फिर किसी उसका मॉस्क का कोई मौलवी है, तो वो क्या करेगा आर्मी में जाके, वो क्या करेगा ब्यूरोक्रेसी में जाके, ठीक है, तो वहां तो कोई काम ही नहीं. Okay, welcome back students. तो अब क्या होता है? So basically now what happens is that now the National Assembly, it starts legislating. The kind of constitution it comes out with is not a republic. That is, the constitution does not say that France will be a republic. If France will be a republic, then it would be meaning that France will have no monarchy. Rather, they follow a conservative path. They follow the path which is there in England. So they do not go the US way, they go the England way. So in England, what is there? Parliamentary democracy is there, but there is a monarchy. Okay. So therefore, the constitution which they bring in, it says that there will be a monarchy, but it will be a powerless monarchy. The real power will be with the parliament, and the real power will be with the government which is formed through elections by the people. ठीक है. So अगर हम एक चीज देखते हैं, so therefore they bring this kind of a constitution. Okay. Apart from this, simultaneously what happens is some event takes place, and this event is in September 1792, France declares itself as a republic. Then in 1793, the king, he is murdered. Murdered means he is executed. And after some months, queen is also executed. ऐसा क्या हुआ कि ये सारी चीजें हुई? So therefore, this is a story of France becoming a republic in 1792. So French Revolution happened in 1789. After the French Revolution of 1789, France is not becoming a republic. France is becoming a constitutional monarchy. So therefore, what kind of constitution it is given by the National Assembly? It is a constitutional monarchy. Right? That is there. But then in 1792, what happens? They declare themselves republic. And then 1 year later, they are executing the king as well as the queen. तो हुआ क्या? That is the story of this particular thing, and the people who were responsible for this were called Jacobins. Jacobins. So Jacobins were basically a set of people. They belonged to there was a club called Jacobin Club. So जैसे different parties होते हैं, कांग्रेस पार्टी, बीजेपी पार्टी, उस टाइम पे ऐसे clubs होते थे. One of the club was Jacobins. If you look at the ideology of the Jacobins, now these were the people who were responsible for making France a republic. So let us look at the Jacobins. Right? If you look at the Jacobins, उनका ideology क्या था? उनका ideology था of nationalism and sacrifice. That was their ideology. That means they were highly nationalistic, right? And they were ready to sacrifice they believed in sacrifice, that, you know, that they were ready to sacrifice themselves for France, plus they were ready to go to any extent to ensure that this French Revolution, it is preserved. The situation, it goes on like this. Story, it goes on like this. What happens is 1789, this French Revolution has taken place. And then your National Assembly, it starts drafting a constitution. Okay? And the constitution, it is going to provide with constitutional monarchy. In a constitutional monarchy, what happens? The monarchy, it is powerless. When the monarchy is powerless, so obviously the king and the queen, they will not be liking this. So therefore, around this point of time, what happens? In June 1791, the king and the queen, they try to escape. The king and the queen, they try to escape. Was Tipu Sultan a member of the same Jacobin club? कह सकते हैं, मतलब there was some association, ठीक है, between Tipu Sultan and the French. Tipu Sultan also sent an ambassador to France. Anyways, अभी आप अपनी discussion बंद करो, अब इधर focus करो कि कहानी चल क्या रही है. कहानी ये चल रही है that in June 1791, the king and the queen, they tried to escape France. कहाँ जा रहे थे भाई? कहां जा रही थी दीदी? दीदी जा रही थी ऑस्ट्रिया. Madame Det or your Queen Marie Antoinette, she was basically an Austrian princess, and she had been married into the dynasty of this Bourbon dynasty इनको बोला जाता है. That is, she was married to King Louis XVI. So basically, the situation was that the king and the queen, they tried to escape France, and they were headed to Austria, and their plan was to lead a counter revolution. The monarchy, it has lost all the powers because of the French Revolution of 1789. The nobility has lost all the power. The clergy, they have lost all the power. So therefore, the intent of the monarchy right now is, can we associate, can we take help of the foreigners? Can we take help of the Austrian monarchy, so that then Austria can send an army, and then maybe we can reverse the French Revolution of 1789, so that we can have a monarchy again which is powerful. So we can get rid of these representatives of the third estate. So we can get rid of this new constitution. So we can get rid of this National Assembly, so that we can overturn the French Revolution. Now these people, they were caught They could not cross France. They were apprehended. ठीक है, इनको पकड़ लिया गया और इनको बेवकूफ थे. भाई अगर आपको फ्रांस से जाना है तो अपना चोरी चुप के जाओ ना, साधारण कपड़े पहन के जाओ. Normal, wear clothes like normal people and then you try to escape France. नहीं जी, इनका काफिला जा रहा है. Obviously, पकड़ में आने थे. Anyways, these people, they were apprehended. They were not allowed to leave France. They were brought back to Paris. Right? So therefore, this is the first event which takes place. King and Queen make a failed attempt to escape from France. They wanted to do a counter-revolution with the help of neighboring kingdoms. What is the meaning of counter-revolution? The neighboring kingdoms, they will hatch a plan. The neighboring kingdoms, they will send their army. The title is Jacobins, Jacobins. The king and the queen, they want to do a counter-revolution. They will hatch a conspiracy, and with the help of the neighboring kingdoms' armies, they will attack. Right? And therefore, this is how they will be able to undo the French Revolution. And therefore, that is why the desire of the people of France to preserve the French Revolution. Okay, so that is what happens. After this, 1792, certain events unfold. What are the events? The events are that Austria, Savoy and Prussia, okay, these are the neighboring kingdoms. They launch an attack on France. That is, France is attacked by these neighboring kingdoms. कौन-कौन से? Austria, Savoy, Prussia. Mainly Austria is important, Prussia is important. Savoy तो चलो ठीक है, Italian kingdom छोटा सा है, ठीक है. So they attack France. What is their purpose of attacking France? Can anyone tell me? Can any student tell me that why these Austrians, Austria, Savoy, and Prussia, they will attack France? Can anyone tell me what would be the reason? Threat to their monarchy, to gain territory, to preserve monarchy, undo the revolution, weak France. No. So basically, daughter is not killed yet. Daughter will be killed. We'll come to that. So yes, some of you are right. Not for economic gains, not for gaining territory. The problem is that, see, what has happened across, because of these Enlightenment thoughts, what has happened is that across the Atlantic, in the 13 colonies, for the first time, a new country has come into picture, which is a republic. That is United States of America. So therefore, the ideas of the Enlightenment, they have traveled across the Atlantic, influenced the people of the 13 colonies, and they have established a republic. And now, what is happening in the mainland Europe, which is full of different kingdoms? The ideas of self-government, the ideas of democracy, the ideas of equality, the idea of no special privileges to the nobility or the clergy, right? The idea of no power to the monarchy, they have taken root in France, and the proof is the French Revolution of 1789. What if the people of my kingdom, they also start demanding end of feudalism? What if the people of my kingdom, they also start demanding that the king should not be powerful and the power should be in the hands of the people? The nobility of these countries, these kingdoms, they will be thinking that what if our population starts demanding that no special privileges to the nobility, no special privileges to the clergy? What will happen? We will also lose our lands, because the people of our kingdoms, they can get inspired by the people of France, and then the people of our kingdom, they can try to emulate, they can try to copy what the French they have done in the France. So therefore, we cannot tolerate, in the mainland Europe, we cannot tolerate a France which is not under monarchy. because it will threaten our kingdoms, it will threaten our monarchy as well, because these ideas of self-government, they will spread, these ideas of equality will spread, and then maybe our people, they start getting inspired कि फ्रांस कर सकता है revolution, तो हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते revolution? So therefore it is in the interest of the nobilities of the rest of the kingdoms and the monarchy of the rest of the kingdoms that this revolution, it is undone. Because afraid of spread of ideas of French Revolution 1789 which can result in similar revolution in their kingdoms. और तब ये लोग कहाँ जाएंगे, कहाँ मुंह छुपाएंगे, कुछ नहीं बचेगा. ठीक है, तो ये जो एक्सपेरिमेंट फ्रांस में हो रहा है, इस एक्सपेरिमेंट को अंडू करना पड़ेगा. So therefore that's why they wanted to end the French Revolution. They wanted to end the French Revolution. And if you look at the perspective of the people of France, what will be the perspective of the people of France? If I am a French, right, I am a commoner, I belong from the third estate, these neighboring kingdoms, they have attacked us. Why they have attacked us? They want to take away the gains we have made through the French Revolution. They want to bring back feudalism. They want to bring back a strong monarchy. They want to bring back a strong nobility. They want to push us back to our inglorious past. And therefore we have to fight. And why are we fighting then? We are fighting for protecting our revolution. And that's why these wars which begin in 1792, they are known as French Revolutionary Wars. French Revolutionary Wars, they happened from 1792 to 1803. Why they are called as French Revolutionary Wars? देखो, अगर बच्चे इन बेसिक चीजों को पढ़ के समझेंगे, मतलब समझ के पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है, तो देखो ना, नाम को देखो. Why the name is French Revolutionary Wars? The name is French Revolutionary Wars. Why? Because the French are fighting this war to protect the French Revolution, and therefore the name French Revolutionary Wars. Right? Therefore the name French Revolutionary Wars. So therefore this is how your things are happening. Now what will happen? Now the enemies of the French Revolution, they have attacked France. Austria, Savoy, Prussia, they have attacked France. If you are a noble of France, what will be your intent? Will you be in favor of Austria, Savoy, Prussia, or you will be against Austria, Savoy, Prussia? Tell me. If you are a nobility of France, will you be in favor of Austria, Savoy, Prussia, or you will be in favor of France? बताओ शशांक. Yes, they will be in favor of Austria, Savoy, Prussia. Why? Because if Austria, Savoy and Prussia, they win, then the nobility के मजे ही मजे वापस मोजा. So therefore now what will happen? The nobility and the military, it is dominated by whom? The military, it is dominated by the nobility. Who can be under feudalism, who could have been a military, senior military, who can be a general, who can be a captain, who can be, all of these things? Only a senior, only a noble. He can be a senior official in the military. So therefore now what will happen is, now I am the commander of the French army, and these people, they have attacked. Now what will happen? Now many of the nobles who are part of the seniority levels of the military, they will start defecting to the army. वो फ्रांस को छोड़ के कहां चले जाएंगे? They will go to Austria, they will join the army of Austria, Savoy, Prussia, and they are fighting from the side of Austria, Savoy and Prussia. That is, now what happens is, as a result of this, एक तो ये चीज हो रही है, अब देखो दुविधा फ्रांस के लोगों की कि एक तो हमारे ऊपर अटैक हो गया है और मिलिट्री जिनके अंदर है वो दुश्मन से जाके मिल गई है. So therefore now what happens? So after this, now the military nobles they begin defecting to the enemy. कि भैया हम तो ऑस्ट्रिया के साथ हैं, वी आर विद सवॉय, वी आर विद प्रशिया, वी डू नॉट वांट दिस फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन. नाउ नॉट ऑल ऑफ देम, but yes, gradually there is defection and there is a dearth, there is scarcity of senior military leaders. So the clergy don't have the major role. Clergy क्या करेंगे? ताम ब्राम ब्रीम द्रुम धूम स्वाहा. सर जी तो ये clergy तो ये करेंगे और क्या करेंगे? Now military nobles they begin defecting to the enemy. Right? They begin defecting to the enemy. So therefore France would be feeling weak. At this point of time what happens? At this point of time the Jacobins, these group of politicians who are part of the National Assembly. Now these group of politicians who are part of the National Assembly, what do they start demanding? They start demanding that we need to do something. They start blaming the Queen. They say that Queen, she is a princess of Austria. She had tried to escape France. She wanted to go to Austria. She wanted to take help of Austria to undo the French Revolution, and therefore it is the king and the queen who are responsible for this problem in which France is right now. The king and the queen, they are enemies of the French Revolution. Okay, so the Jacobins, they start blaming the queen. That is what happens. Now what happens? The Jacobins, they gradually become strong. Why? Because a crisis is developing and the Jacobins, they demand that some kind of a radical action needs to be taken. So therefore, because of the pressure of the Jacobins, in August 1792, the king is overthrown and France is declared a republic. Right? So therefore, this leads to what? So king is overthrown. Once your king is overthrown, now France is declared a republic. So therefore, how did France become a republic? France became a republic because of the pressure of the Jacobins, and the Jacobins, they were successful. Why they were successful? Because of the problems, because the king and the queen, the monarchy, it was blamed for, they were blamed as enemy of the French Revolution. Okay. Right? So therefore France is declared a republic in 1792. Why? Because the monarchy, it is, see, in 1791 they wanted to end the French Revolution. तभी ये भागने की कोशिश कर रहे थे. These are the enemies. So therefore इनका फ्रांस में क्या काम है? If they are enemies of the French Revolution, तो इनका फ्रांस में क्या काम है? हटाओ इनको. Right? So therefore under the pressure of the Jacobins, that is how your France, it becomes a republic. Plus now what do? Why? We have declared that France is a republic. But the constitution which has been prepared by the National Assembly, it says France will have a constitutional monarchy. So therefore, at this particular point of time, they changed the name of National Assembly to National Convention, right? And they say that National Convention will draft a constitution where France will be a republic. right? So National Assembly, it is changed to National Convention, whose purpose will be to draft a new constitution where France will be a republic. So there, as a star note, you can mention that National Assembly का जो constitution था, ये constitution आया था 1791 में, and this particular constitution of 1791, it called France a constitutional monarchy. Okay. So National Assembly Constitution 1791, it provided for constitutional monarchy. So this is how, this is a very small doubt. Usually when you read the NCERT, अगर आप कोई भी और book पढ़ते हो, तो we get confused कि यार ये कभी तो National Assembly बात करते हैं, फिर एकदम से National Convention आ जाता है, ठीक है. अच्छा, और एक और interesting चीज देखो. What is the meaning of the word assembly? People have gathered. What is the meaning of the word Congress? People have gathered. What is the meaning of the word convention? People have gathered. So therefore, this is how your state legislative assembly, this is how, so basically when the representatives of the people are gathering and they are deciding things for the people, that's how you get the word assembly, convention, congress, etc. Okay. So therefore, this is how your things are progressing. Okay. Simultaneously, what is happening? France is, losing the war. Because of all of these things, France is gradually losing the war. Now what happens? Now comes so Jacobins, they are becoming strong. Under their pressure, France has become a republic. Under their pressure, the France has become a republic. So therefore, now what happens is that they start dominating. Okay? They start dominating, and why they start dominating? The radical view comes into picture because of all of these war defeats which are piling up. It is under their pressure now. Now they start putting a pressure कि भैया देखो, France is losing the war, right? There are no military nobles. There is a dearth of military nobles. ये सब लोग तो enemy से जाके मिल रहे हैं. So therefore, हम लोग क्या करना है? भैया हमको emergency लगानी पड़ेगी. Inside the France, there are enemies of the French Revolution. कैसे? भैया proof is there, king and queen. Plus there are many nobles. क्या सारे, have all the nobles gone out of France? Have all the clergy gone out of France? There are still many sections in the French society internally who are opposed to the French Revolution. So therefore, right now we are facing a situation where the French Revolution, it is having enemies inside of France. That is those sections of the society who are against the French Revolution. The nobility, the clergy, the king, the queen. Plus we have these foreign enemies who have attacked us. So therefore we are facing a dire situation, and what we need is emergency. So therefore we need to suspend the democracy which we have created after the French Revolution, and what we need is an emergency. So therefore at this particular point of time in 1793, under the pressure of the Jacobins, emergency is declared. And the Jacobins, since they are the ones who are dominating, they will get a role in what decisions they are being taken. So therefore in 1793, what is the situation? War defeats pile up, and therefore Jacobins, they succeeded in bringing emergency, right? And right now the Jacobins, they are very, very powerful. Okay? At this point, the Jacobins, they are powerful. They are the ones who are dominating what decisions are taken. Okay? So therefore at this, because of this particular point, okay, because of this particular point, now what the next thing comes? अच्छा इसमें एक और point भूल गए ना, कुछ लिखना. War defeats pile up, therefore Jacobins succeed in bringing emergency. Right? So what is the logic? So logic that they give is this. The logic that they give is that, see, the French Revolution, it is under threat from enemies inside France and enemies outside France. बाहर से तो इन लोगों ने हम पे अटैक ही कर दिया है. Plus in the inside also there are many sections of the society like nobility, clergy. They are obviously not in favor of the French Revolution. Right? Proof is, look, many of these nobles, they have defected to the enemy. So therefore we need emergency powers. So therefore the constitution which has come in 1791, it gets suspended in 1793, emergency aa gayi. Right? Now what do the decisions these people take? Now begins the reign of the Jacobins. And this reign, it is known as reign of terror. Why? Because they have the emergency powers. So therefore this leads to what? That leads to reign of terror. And this reign of terror was there from 1793 till your 1794. What do you mean by this reign of terror? Enemy to military nobles means नहीं. क्या पूछ रहे हो? समझ में नहीं आया मुझे. Enemies to military nobles. Now military nobles begin defecting to the enemy. Defecting means कि वो जाके दुश्मन के साथ जुड़ गए हैं. Once again नहीं, this is the first time emergency is being declared. Emergency is being declared, अच्छा ठीक है. Emergency is being declared because war defeats are piling up. France is under attack. So therefore today, for example, if Pakistan and China, let's say they attack India, then won't the government of India declare emergency? It will declare emergency. There will be suspension of the usual rights, etc., which are there. So when any country comes under threat, a foreign threat, so therefore at that particular point of time, the country will decide that we need draconian powers, because right now it's not the time for democracy. Right now there is kind of strict control because we are under threat. Okay. Which particular alphabets are not being understood, you can tell me, and then we can zoom in on that. Right. So this is reign of terror 1793. You can ask, you can point to the batch coordinator, maybe they can clarify because they are used to my writing. Right. आज भैया आप बैच कोऑर्डिनेटर से क्यों नहीं पूछते हो? आज Jacobins, the representatives who were revolting, yes, they are part of the group. So if 100 representatives are there, then one of the dominant groups is Jacobins, जिनकी चल रही है आजकल. That they are the dominant ones, right? So therefore, this is how your things are. So if there are any questions regarding any of the letters, you can point out the sentence. Sir, Jacobin के पास army कहाँ थी? The Jacobins, see, Jacobins, they are simply a political party. Jacobins, they are simply a political party. There are multiple political parties within the multiple political groups in the National Assembly. So Jacobins are one of the political party whose views are getting more and more traction, who are getting more and more support within the National Assembly. The rest of the members of the National Assembly, they are listening to the Jacobins. Army किसके पास थी? Army France के पास थी. France had an army, right? The military leadership, it was with the nobility. Not all the military nobles, they went to the enemy, but many of them they went, right? So still France is having an army, although a weak army. So Jacobins तो बस एक political party है. Army तो France की है ना, country की army होगी. ठीक. But that army is weak because many military nobles, they begin defecting. मैंने ये नहीं लिखा all of them they defected. ठीक है. लिखने का टाइम मैं आपको दूंगा. ठीक है. Sir, what is the year you have written after NA Constitution 1791? 1791. ठीक है. See, army, it constitutes what? It would constitute a huge number of soldiers. The soldiers, they will not be from the nobility. The soldiers, they will be coming from the third estate, right? But then the leadership, it will be coming from like the captain and above. It will be coming from the nobility. है ना? So that's how it is. Soldiers of army related to which estate? Yeah, soldier. So soldier तो मतलब बाहर सिपाही हो गया, वो तो बेचारा गरीब आदमी है, तो वो तो वहीं से आएगा. Savoy is basically a kingdom of modern day Italy. Modern day Italy, it was divided into multiple kingdoms. One of the kingdom was Savoy. ठीक है. और पिछली क्लास में दिखाया भी था मैप पे. Were the nobles removed from their military post? No, they will not be removed from the military post. Those nobles who will say that we are against the French Revolution, because किससे remove करोगे? किससे remove करोगे? Option ही नहीं है अभी available, right? So therefore, those nobles who are against the French Revolution, and they will do what? They will go to the enemy. There will be certain other nobles in the military who will say, okay, we have no problem, we are ready to be here. Why? Because they still have a lot of land, plus they are still the military general. So they are like, okay, we are with the new regime, right? Many of them can say that, okay? Many of them can go also. And if you have to remove them, तो remove किससे करोगे? There needs to be some time, right, that the people from the third estate, they gradually gain that kind of experience that they can become a military general. Otherwise, who will become a military general? Okay. The role of the upper middle class was Jacobin was Robespierre. He was the leader of the Jacobins. He was a third generation lawyer. So Jacobin is also from middle class. The upper middle class, they are the leaders of the revolution. They are the leaders of the French Revolution. So therefore, the leaders of the third estate, they are the middle class. So upper middle class कौन है? These are the members of parliament. These are the members of the National Assembly who are drafting all of this constitution. Constitutional monarchy is a monarchy where, constitutional monarchy, it is a monarchy. For example, like what is a constitution? Constitution is basically a document which says that these are going to be the different arms of the state. These are going to be different powers, right? So constitution बताता है कि किसके पास क्या powers रहेंगी, state के पास क्या power रहेगी, जनता के पास क्या power रहेगी, क्या जनता के rights हैं, ठीक है? So there is a constitution. When your constitution says that there will be a monarchy, right? So constitution, let's say this constitution, it is drafted, by anyone, let's say by the people or whatever. But the constitution is saying there will be a monarchy. So therefore monarchy is being created by what? Monarchy is being created by the constitution. Then the constitution will say what are the powers of the monarchy. So therefore the constitution is saying that the constitution is saying there will be no real power with the monarchy. Third sentence, constitution will say that real power will be with the elected government. So therefore this is your constitutional monarchy. When monarchy is there, but the powers of the constitution, they are given by the constitution, the powers of the monarchy, they are given by the constitution, then you call it constitutional monarchy. Okay, then you call it constitutional monarchy. That is, the powers of the monarchy, they are regulated by the constitution. Okay. In UK, there is no constitution. There is no written constitution. So in UK, what you have? So this is an example of constitutional monarchy. In UK, you have limited monarchy. What do you mean by limited monarchy? Limited monarchy means where powers of the monarchy, they are limited. Where powers of the monarchy are limited. These powers, they can be limited when they are limited by a constitution. Then you call it constitutional monarchy. When these powers are limited by convention, convention means customs, convention, tradition, precedents, then you simply call it limited monarchy. So therefore, limited monarchy के ही दो parts हैं. One is a constitutional monarchy if there is a written constitution, but if there is no written constitution but still the powers of the monarchy, they are limited, like in England, then you will simply call it limited monarchy. Okay, so how do you limit the powers of the monarchy? If through a constitution, then you call it constitutional monarchy. If through convention, then you call it limited monarchy. So this is part of your polity. So when you say constitutional monarchy, so usually the word constitutional monarchy is used in this sense, that there will be a monarchy but it will be powerless. ठीक है, तो इस तरीके से एक एक वर्ड पे अगर हम फोकस करेंगे तो हमको पॉलिटी भी सब कुछ सारे सब्जेक्ट्स आराम से समझ में आ जाएंगे. नाउ बिगिंस द रेन ऑफ टेरर. दिस रेन ऑफ टेरर इज बेसिकली पीरियड ऑफ दिस 1 year, 1.5 years when your Jacobins, they are in power and they have emergency powers with them. They have emergency powers with them. Why it is known as a reign of terror? It is known as a reign of terror because these people inflicted terror like anything. कैसे? Their solution was, their ideology is very nationalistic, fine. But the solution of the Jacobins was, first of all, who was the leader of the Jacobins? The leader was known as Robespierre. So leader was Robespierre. Right? Robespierre. He was from the middle class. He was third generation lawyer. He was a third generation lawyer. Okay. Robespierre is the leader. Now, what was the ideology of these people? What was the attitude of these people? The attitude of these people was that we are going to murder all the enemies of the revolution. We are going to kill all the enemies of the revolution, and that is how we are going to protect the French Revolution. So therefore, in France, if there is anyone who is opposed to the French Revolution, we are going to identify him. We are going to use secret police. We are going to use our police. We are going to identify him, and we are going to kill him. That was their idea, that they can protect the French Revolution by killing everyone who opposes the French Revolution. This is the attitude: protect the French Revolution by executing everyone who is against the revolution. And that is why this particular reign, it is known as Reign of Terror. What do these people do? First of all, king is guillotined. King and the queen, they are guillotined. What do you mean by guillotine? So basically guillotined. This guillotine, it was a machine. Machine kaise tha? Machine was something like this. Right? So basically this is what? This is like a big knife kind of a thing. Okay? And this is like the machine. Okay? And what they will do? They will make the person lay down like this, and then this particular, ये जो इतना बड़ा ये स्टील का जो शार्प चाकू है, कुछ भी कह लो इसको, ये जो शाफ्ट है, ये एकदम से ऐसे नीचे आएगा, and then this neck will break, and then this neck will topple. So basically it is a machine. This is a guillotine machine. This is a guillotine machine, public execution. That is, the person, he will be made to lie down this, and then the guillotine, it will kill it. You know, have you heard the phrase heads will roll? ऐसा कहा जाता है ना. For example, today, if someone say that once the BJP government goes and after that the Congress government comes, yes, blade. ठीक है. Once the BJP government goes and the Congress government comes, in the bureaucracy, many heads will roll. Meaning the bureaucrats who have been very, very anti-Congress and who have not been neutral and who have been very, very pro-BJP, they will be removed. So this term, it comes from here. The heads will roll. Right? So head, ये सर गिरता था, उसका ये roll करता था. So therefore, first of all, your king is guillotined, then your queen is guillotined. Such was the reign of terror that in 1 year, 300,000 people, they were imprisoned. 3 लाख लोगों को जेल में डाला. तीन लाख लोगों को जेल में डाला. इन 3 लाख लोगों में से 10,000 लोग तो जेल में ही मर गए. Right? So basically 10,000 of them, they died in prisons. Plus guillotine कितने हुए? 17,000, 17,000 they were guillotined. 17,000 were executed. Right? Within a month of coming to power, this person Robespierre, he gave death sentence to 1,400 people. Imagine, in a month, 1,400 people being given death sentence. Right? So therefore, this is known as the reign of terror. It is known as the reign of terror. Why? Because during this period of time, there was emergency, and therefore there was no rule of law. There was a draconian government in power. Right? So it is known as the reign of terror. Why? Because, why the name? Because there is emergency. There is no rule of law. Why? Because there is emergency. And therefore these people misused the power of the emergency, and gradually what these people started doing, Robespierre would now try to, imprison, try to kill even the political opposition. right? Even within the Jacobin party, if there are some political opponents of Robespierre, then he will call them anti-national and उनको imprison कर दिया जाएगा या फिर उनको मार दिया जाएगा. And as a result, what happened, by the time of 1794, such a situation had come that now all the other politicians, they came together and they plotted takta palat, they plotted a coup d'etat. Robespierre himself was, captured, and he himself was guillotined. How he was guillotined? All the rest of the politicians, they started thinking, यार ये तो हमें ही मारने लग रहा है. He is removing his political opposition. किसी को भी एंटी नेशनल बोल देता है, उसका सर्कल हम कर देता है, राइट. सो बेसिकली रॉबेस्पियर को ही पकड़ के उसी को ही गुलोटीन कर दिया गया. ठीक है, रॉबेस्पियर हिमसेल्फ वाज गुलेटिन आफ्टर द कू, राइट, बिकॉज ये बहुत एट्रोशियस हो गया था. सो दिस इज नोन एज द रेन ऑफ टेरर. ओके, सो दिस इज नोन एज द रेन ऑफ टेरर. सो दिस इज हाउ योर things are. So basically Robespierre, if you look at Robespierre, what is the personality of Robespierre? Is Robespierre a nationalist? Yes, Robespierre is a nationalist. But does he believe in liberty? No. अच्छा, एक और इसमें छोटा सा एक चीज आता है. So basically there are three important components, three famous words about the French Revolution: liberty, equality, and fraternity. These are the three famous words about the French Revolution. What does liberty represents? Liberty represents liberty from the economic oppression, liberty from, that is the freedom. Okay, that is, it represents rights, right? It represents freedom from oppression, or freedom from oppression, or freedom from feudalism. That is what it represents. What does equality represents? Obviously it represents end of special privileges of nobility and the clergy, right? So basically it represents end of feudal privileges or special privileges. That is, everyone is equal, equality before law, etc., etc., right? So basically equality before law, rule of law. That is what is represented. Basically मैं लिख क्यों रहा हूं? इसकी वजह से लिख रहा हूं, because मुझे ये explain करना है. What does fraternity represent? Is there any student who can tell me what does fraternity represent? Fraternity, it represents the unity. What is the, it basically, it also means brotherhood. It also means unity, right? Unity among whom? Unity of the people of France. Unity of the people of France. Right? So therefore the people of France, they are united, they are equal and they are united. They are equal and they are united. This is what it represents, right? So that is unity of the people, and it has a relation with the modern meaning of the word nation, that nation is summation of people who feel one. Right? So we are French, and therefore this will lead to what? This will lead to rise in the feeling of nationalism. Why? Because nation is summation of people who feel one. Nation is people. So nationalism is what? Nationalism, it is having this particular component of fraternity, that we are one. हम सब भारतीय हैं. हम गाना गाते हैं ना नेशनलिस्टिक होके, हम सब भारतीय हैं, ठीक है, इस तरीके से गाना गाते हैं. So what is that? That is fraternity. That is fraternity. Okay, so therefore liberty, equality, fraternity. तो fraternity वाला पार्ट लिखना, liberty, equality तो आपको खैर पता ही है, ठीक है. तो इस तरीके से ये चीजें बढ़ी आफ्टर दिस, ठीक है. तो ये आप लिखो, उसके बाद फिर डिस्कस करते हैं कैसे कैसे रहा. तो पहले यहां तक आप दिखा दीजिएगा, फिर Nation is equal to summation of people who feel one. वॉर चल रही है, अभी डिस्कस करेंगे उसके बारे में. फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन इज एक्चुअली मच मोर इंपॉर्टेंट देन द अमेरिकन रेवोल्यूशन. Why it is more important? It is important because it impacted the whole of Europe, whereas America or the US, it was across the Atlantic. So therefore this French Revolution, it resulted in end of feudalism, not just in France, but later on in rest of the Europe also. So that's why we are discussing the French Revolution in a little bit more detail. War was going on, yes. In the fifth point, what is after National Assembly is, fifth point कहाँ गया? Fifth point, एक तो मैं नंबरिंग करनी स्टार्ट करता हूँ इसकी. National Assembly, नेशन इज समेशन ऑफ पीपल हु फील वन. नेशनल असेंबली कहां गई? नेशनल असेंबली कहां पे भाई? फिफ्थ पॉइंट कौन सा? 1 2 3 4 कहां पे? एन ए इज ओके, एन डॉट ए, एन ए इज नेशनल असेंबली. ओके, एन ए इज नेशनल असेंबली एंड दिस इज नेशनल असेंबली कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन 1791. इट प्रोवाइडेड फॉर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोनार्की. ठीक है, अदरवाइज एनए इज चेंज्ड, सो दिस इज चेंज. ठीक है, द वॉर इज गोइंग ऑन. द वॉर विल गो ऑन टिल 1815. द वॉर विल गो ऑन टिल 1815. ओके, so how is feudalism abolished in a state if still initial voting rights are given to people with land? At least they are getting, first of all, huge amount of land redistribution takes place, right? So that aspect we will discuss. Huge amount of land redistribution it takes place. So therefore, earlier only a very small percentage of people, they were having this kind of a participation in the polity. But now at least you have a decent number of population given the right to vote. So therefore, of course, it is a negative, but there is democracy. Yes, everyone has not got the right to vote. ठीक है, लास्ट पार्ट दिखा दिया आपने. नो, आई एम नॉट डन अ स्टेनोग्राफी कोर्स. वो पता नहीं तो ये तारीफ में बोला जा रहा है या फिर बुराई में बोला जा रहा है. Yeah, please forward your queries because see क्या होता है ना, when you write then suddenly it goes up. So basically your queries, if you send them to the batch coordinators, then they will be able to come. अब जैसे मैं एक query पढ़ रहा था वो एकदम से ऊपर चली गई, ठीक है, तो मैं किस तरीके से वो नहीं कर सकता. Point of 1794, last word, what's written? 1794, Robespierre himself was guillotined after a coup. C-O-U-P, coup means तख्ता पलट. See the idea there is कि मैं तो I can write, मतलब फुल फॉर्म में भी लिख सकता हूं, बट द आइडिया देयर इज कि इतना सब कुछ तो लिखता ही हूं. द आइडिया देयर इज कि थोड़ा सा टाइम प्रिजर्व हो जाए, एंड सेकंड इज टू टीच यू कि आप भी अपने नोट्स या फिर अपने जो नोट्स बना सकते हैं, आप अपनी भी कुछ ऐसी कॉमन शॉर्ट फॉर्म्स आप बना लीजिए. ठीक है, इसीलिए वेयर, व्हाट इज WHR? WHR इज वेयर. द रोल ऑफ द क्लर्जी इज नथिंग. द क्लर्जी क्या करेंगे? क्लर्जी बेचारे रोए बैठे हुए हैं, उनकी जमीन वगैरह सब लूट गई. ठीक है, क्लर्जी बेचारे रो रहे हैं. क्लर्जी they will be sad, very sad. They have lost their land, they have lost their status. That is the role of clergy. Okay, so therefore this is how your things are taking place. ठीक है. Okay. See now how the thing progresses. Once your Robespierre, etc., they are removed from power. After that, in 1795, the old middle class, it again comes back to power. Meaning, see the ideology, one interesting component is there. What is the component? What are the features of the 1791 constitution? If you look at the 1791 constitution, then this 1791 constitution, as one of the student has mentioned, it did not provide right to vote to everyone. Okay, it did not provide right to vote to everyone. So therefore, who got the right to vote? Only the right to vote, it was linked to property. That is, every person who is above 21 years of age and he has, this much amount of income. There was an income criteria, right? Who has this much amount of income, minimum income, they will be getting the right to vote. Meaning, rest of the people, they did not get the right to vote. So therefore, in this 1791 constitution, one constitutional monarchy it is a part. But apart from this, what is happening is that your right to vote, the right to vote, it is linked with income criteria. What do you mean by this? The net result is, what do we see? That the poor sections of the society, they will not get the right to vote, right? So therefore, overall, if we see a scenario, then what is happening? Who benefited the most from the French Revolution? In the French Revolution, if you look at the middle classes, right? If you look at the benefits from French Revolution, अगर हम इसकी बात करें, so first of all, what do we see if you look at the middle classes? Then the middle classes, how they are benefiting? They are the ones who dominate the National Assembly. They are the ones who are the politicians. Okay, their leaders, not everyone, but yes, the leaders or the politicians of the National Assembly, the representatives of the third estate, they came from the middle class. So obviously they have gained political power because they are the ones who dominate the National Assembly. They gained political power. They did not earlier have that kind of a social status, political status, but now they do have that particular social status and political status. Second of all, if we look at the peasantry, the peasant class, the peasant class, it earlier used to be landless, but now they have seized the property of the clergy, they have seized the property of the nobility, land redistribution has taken place, and therefore it is this particular peasantry which has gained a lot from the French Revolution, because now they have become landowners. They have gained land ownership. But what about the workers? The city workers, the artisans. The land will be given to those people who are cultivating the land. The workers, they do not cultivate land. They are engaged in some other occupation. So therefore, what is gained by the workers? The workers, they do not get this land, right? So therefore, what we see is that the workers, first of all, they are not gaining any lands. Why? Because their occupation is not agriculture. So they will not benefit from the land redistribution. They did not benefit from land redistribution. Now you add this income criteria. Many of the peasants, they would be able to become the voters if they have a decent amount of land with them after this land redistribution. The middle class, any which way, they are the rich sections of the third estate, so therefore they will be able to get the right to vote. Plus they have also gained the political power. So if we look at the different sections of the society, then it is your working class which has not benefited from the French Revolution. They sacrificed a lot, they participated in the French Revolution, but they did not benefit from the French Revolution, especially because of this income criteria. Right? So therefore, इनको कुछ भी नहीं मिला. Neither they gained economically, nor they gained politically, because they did not get the right to vote. So therefore, when these Jacobins are rising to power, so what is the core support base of Jacobins? The core support base of Jacobins were the workers. The core support base of the Jacobins were the workers, right? So therefore, now when Jacobins, they are coming to power and they are changing the name of the National Assembly to National Convention, and they are asking the National Convention to draft a constitution for the Republic. So therefore, the kind of constitution that they drafted was really very democratic kind of a constitution. It was much more democratic. Okay, and what was the reason? The reason was that their major support base was these working class. Support base was working class, and this reflected in the new constitution which was drafted in 1793, right? So basically बोला था ना National Convention को that you draft a constitution which will have France as a republic. So therefore, this was reflected, this support base, it was reflected in that constitution. So therefore, they gave a constitution which is known as Jacobin constitution. This constitution, it was drafted in 1793. But this constitution, although very democratic, it never came into effect. It did not come into effect. Why? Because in 1793, under the pressure of the Jacobins, emergency was applied. And once emergency is applied, then all rights are suspended and there is no constitution which is in operation. So therefore, the Jacobins, they drafted a constitution, right? And this Jacobin constitution, it was drafted by the National Convention. It was drafted by the National Convention. ठीक है, तो 1792 में रिपब्लिक डिक्लेयर कर दिया और 1793 में they drafted this particular constitution. Now, if you look at these features, now it was never implemented. So therefore, this constitution, it was never implemented. Why? क्योंकि emergency उन्होंने लगा दी थी. So this constitution, although having very good features, it was never implemented. It never came into effect because of the reign of terror. Okay, but what were the features? So इसका एक mnemonic है. The mnemonic goes like this: work, vote, resurrect, be happy. Like this is a mnemonic. What is the mnemonic? मतलब what is the expansion of it? So basic, ये तो एक बस mnemonic है. इसके features अगर हम देखें तो first feature is work. Work means right to work. It was written in the constitution that it is the responsibility of the state to provide work, to provide employment to the masses. So therefore, if the private sector is not able to provide employment, if agriculture sector is not able to provide you employment, then still you have a right to work, and therefore you can go to the state and you can say that I want employment. Okay, so right to work was given as part of the constitution. Okay, right to work was given as part of the constitution. Now you tell me, today for example, in India gradually it is said that gradually we are moving away from socialism to capitalism even more and more. Even if in our preamble it is written the word socialism, it is there, socialist is there. Still it is said that gradually India, especially after 1991, we are gradually moving towards capitalism. And it is said that BJP or the Bharatiya Janata Party, it is of that particular attitude, of that particular value, that there should be minimum government and maximum governance. What is the meaning of that minimum government? The meaning of that is that the state, it should not have prominent presence in the economy. And that is why in the newspapers you would be reading about PSU disinvestment. And when you read about PSU disinvestment, you would also read about certain protests by the workers of these PSUs like MTNL or other PSUs. Or the workers of the public sector banks, when news comes that there can be a public sector bank which can be privatized or which can be subjected to disinvestment. So what is happening? The government, when it privatizes its own PSUs or its own PSBs, public sector banks, then the government, it is withdrawing from the role of providing employment. It is withdrawing itself from the role of being a player in the economy. So, but this particular constitution says that the government has a responsibility to fulfill this particular right, that is right to work. So therefore, usually what it is said, in a socialist society or in a socialist economy, the state, it has a lot of role. The state will be having a lot of PSUs, right? This is the general thinking that we have regarding socialism. So therefore, that is what it is. So since Jacobins, they have the support base of the working class, and socialism, it is an ideology of the working class. So therefore, this particular, in Jacobins, you can see a tinge, you can see a flavor of socialism, right? So therefore, it had a flavor of socialism. It had a flavor of socialism. Why? Because the government will be having a role in the economy. Why? If private sector is not able to provide you employment, come to the state will provide you employment. The second aspect comes what? Vote. The Jacobins, they knew that these working class, they have the support base of working class. The working class did not qualify the income criteria prescribed by the 1791 constitution. So therefore, this particular constitution, it removed the income criteria, and it said that every person who is above 21 years of age, he will be able to have a right to vote. So therefore, with respect to right to vote, vote means they delinked the income criteria with the voting right. In this way, can we say that this particular constitution, which is also known as Jacobin constitution, it was more democratic than this constitution of 1791? Yes. So therefore, the workers, they are not benefiting from 1791 constitution, but they are benefiting from the constitution of 1793, that is the Jacobin constitution. However, this constitution never came into effect, right? The next aspect comes is work, vote, resurrect. What is the meaning of resurrection? The meaning of resurrection means that if the people, the meaning is that right to resurrect, that is people have a right to resurrect or insurrection. Resurrect नहीं, insurrect कहेंगे, insurrect. Insurrection. What is insurrection? It means right to overthrow the government. If the government is unable to give the rights which are enshrined in the constitution, if the government is unable to protect those rights, if the government is unable to give those rights to the people, implement those rights for the people, then the people, they have the power to overthrow the government. That means we do not have to wait for 5 years for the elections to take place. If we have elected a government but the government is failing, then the people, they have a right to overthrow the government. Okay, so therefore people have right to insurrect, it means right to overthrow the government. The right to overthrow the government, right? When obviously when the government is not fulfilling, so people have right to overthrow the government when, इसी को यहीं पे continue कर लेते हैं, when government fails to provide for rights which are enshrined in the constitution. When the government fails to fulfill the rights of the people, then the people, they can overthrow the government. Next is what? Be happy. Meaning, in the constitution it was written that for example, जैसे आजकल, in your UPSC preparation, you might be reading that your Bhutan, it has a happiness quotient. Okay, so that is happiness, meaning they are basically saying that the goal of the government is to ensure, that there is happiness of the people. Okay, so overall welfare of the people is the goal of the government. So what is the goal of the government? The goal of the government is overall happiness of the people or the welfare of the people. So this is point number D, that is goal of the government is equal to happiness of the people. And what is happiness? Happiness is welfare of the people. That is, it fulfills the rights which people have, plus it is a welfare state. So therefore this is how a tinge of socialism it is there, and this constitution it was very much more democratic because everyone had a right to vote. So therefore मैं आपको एक पर्सपेक्टिव देना चाहता हूं जो कि बाद में काम आएगा. क्या पर्सपेक्टिव है? पर्सपेक्टिव ये है, अगर हमें इस चीज को देखते हैं, if you look at this particular aspect, then who are the leaders of the National Assembly? The leaders of the National Assembly are the middle class. Who gained the maximum political power? The middle classes. So therefore, after the French Revolution, the society of France, it transitioned from feudalism to capitalism. There was now rule of middle classes. And these middle classes, they drafted what kind of constitution? They drafted such a constitution which does not give right to vote to the working class. And therefore here the animosity between capitalism and socialism, it is taking shape, it is taking root. The French Revolution was a revolution. Karl Marx said that French Revolution was a revolution by the middle classes, and it benefited the middle classes, whereas the working class, they were neglected. Right? So therefore, this is sort of the beginning of this animosity between the feudalism and the capitalism. The workers, they will feel cheated. They will feel that we participated in the French Revolution, but we did not gain anything. So therefore, because of these aspects, this is just for the sake of understanding, just for the sake of listening. ये तो खैर आपको लिखना ही है, but this animosity between capitalism and socialism, it is beginning from the French Revolution. So ये चीज समझने वाली है. When we later on we will be discussing socialism or communism, so therefore we will discuss this rivalry between socialism and capitalism. तो ये वहां पे काम आएगी. ठीक है? So this is the situation that is there. Now, right? So this was the Jacobins part of the thing. After the removal of Jacobins, what happened? After the removal of Jacobins, this particular constitution, it was redrafted. The National Convention redrafted this particular constitution, and the new constitution which came, that constitution brought back the income criteria to the right to vote. So as the Jacobins went away, the right to vote for the poor sections of the society also went away. So basically, after Jacobins, that is after 1794, the new constitution, under influence of the middle class leaders, reintroduced the income criteria for the voting rights, right? Plus this particular constitution, so this particular constitution provided for a form of government which is popularly known as directory government. So directory government, for example, today there is DRI, if you have heard about DRI, or if you have heard about ED, Enforcement Directorate. So basically you can call the different departments in your government as departments. You can call ministries ministries, or you can have another form of organization in the form of directorates, right? So therefore this constitution, it had a kind of this it named its different departments as directorates, the Directorate of Education, Directorate of XYZ. So it is popularly known as directory government, right? Plus and this directory government was there from 1795 till 1799 for a period of 4 years. After 1799, Napoleon will do a coup d'etat, he will do a takta palat, he will come to power in 1799. So anyways, so this is the complete portion about Jacobins, and so you write this down. After that, we will take a brief look at the future events. बट ये चीज आप ध्यान में रखना, ये जो वर्किंग क्लास वाला इशू है, ठीक है, ये बाद में भी काम आएगा, दिस इज द इंटेलिजेंट पार्ट ऑफ इट. Women, yes, women did not get a right to vote. In fact, later on we will see even in the Napoleonic Code, the women, they were at a disadvantage. Can I tell more about Robespierre? Robespierre was, these Jacobins, they were also known as the mountain. Okay? They used to sit on the left hand side. चलो आपने अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा है. सो एक और एस्पेक्ट आ जाता है, एक और कॉन्सेप्ट चलो यहां बता देते हैं आपको, द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ लेफ्ट विंग एंड द राइट विंग. ठीक है. सो बेसिकली व्हाट डू वी सी दैट दीज जैकोबिन्स, दे आर सपोर्टर्स ऑफ द वर्किंग क्लास, दे आर सपोर्टर्स ऑफ द पुअर sections of the society. So therefore the concept of left wing came into existence because of the Jacobins. Concept or use of this term left wing, it came into existence because of Jacobins. Like this is just like why it came into existence, because of them, because they used to sit on the left hand side. So in the National Assembly, the members of the Jacobins club, they used to sit on the left hand side. So therefore that's why. They used to sit on the left hand side of the National Assembly. So therefore this term left wing came into existence. And what do you mean by left wing? Or what is a left wing ideology? A left wing ideology, it is pro-poor ideology. A left wing ideology is anti-capitalist ideology. The left wing ideology is anti-middle class ideology. It is pro-working class. It is pro-workers ideology. And so therefore, so when you say that, for example, Stalin was a left-wing leader, Mao Zedong of China was a left-wing leader, or Communist Party of India, it is a left-wing party. So basically what you're trying to say is this, that when they are left-wing, then they are talking about pro-poor, they are talking about equality. They are more pro-equality. And when you say pro-equality, they are more pro-equal distribution of wealth. They do not want concentration of wealth. They are anti-concentration of wealth. They are anti-capitalism. So therefore, for example, today you say Congress is either, Congress is slightly left of center. So that's why Rahul Gandhi will be given the slogan "Suit Boot ki Sarkar," that only Adani and Ambani they are favoring, they are getting favored by the BJP. So slightly left of center. ठीक है, ऐसा बोला जाता है. Right wing, BJP is called like a right wing organization. Right? Narendra Modi ji, ठीक है, called a right wing leader. Amit Shah, a right wing leader. Similarly, like your Subhash Chandra Bose, Bhagat Singh, they are left wing leaders. Okay, they are left wing leaders. Extreme right wing leader, Hitler, Mussolini. Extremely right wing leaders like Mussolini, Hitler. Extremely left wing leaders, Stalin of USSR. Right? So therefore what do you mean by extreme? When you add the word extreme, that means they are more radical. वो ज्यादा कट्टर हैं अपनी आइडियोलॉजी में. ठीक है. So when you say center, then you are basically saying कि सबको एक sort of साथ लेके चलना, left wing वालों को भी, right wing वालों को भी, something, this kind of a thing. So basically this left wing. So Robespierre, he was a lawyer, ठीक है, and he had this ideology. right? All of this ideology can be, clubbed into it. He had this particular support base. एग्जाम के लिए इतना ही काफी है. अभी कितना टाइम रह गया? 15 मिनट रह गए, तो उसके बाद आगे चलते हैं. ठीक है. सो नाउ लिखना आपने इतना ही है. ठीक है. गॉड से विल बी वाई मिडिल क्लास. सी, मिडिल क्लास इज ऑल्सो नोन एज बूर्जुआ. मिडिल क्लास, इट इज ऑल्सो नोन एज bourgeois, bourgeoise, bourgeois. So these things we will be discussing. So because these middle class sections of the society, they are the richer sections of the society. These middle class sections of the society, they are the ones who have control over wealth, right? So when nobility went out of power, then who came to power? The people who were part of middle class. So therefore they are known as bourgeois. So bourgeois can also be decided, like for example you might belong to the middle class, but bourgeois can, or middle class, it can also be divided into like upper middle class or middle class, or like petty bourgeois. Who are petty bourgeois? जो गरीब type के middle class. ठीक है. So therefore they are known as petty bourgeois. Please explain left wing, right wing again. Left wing, right wing का देखो ऐसा है. So this is the ideology of the left wing. What do you mean by right wing? So if this is your right wing and this is your left wing. ठीक है. Just giving you a brief idea. Later on we'll be talking about it even more. So left wing ideology, usually they will be talking more about what they will be talking about. They will be talking more about nationalism or extreme nationalism. ठीक है. इस तरीके से nationalism will play a major role. Then they usually favor traditional institutions a little more. Now they can also be nationalistic. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है that nationalism, but usually इनका focus nationalism के एजेंडा पे ज्यादा रहता है. Right. So these people, they favor traditional institutions a little more. So for example, जय श्री राम. ठीक है. राम मंदिर वहीं बनाएंगे. Right. So basically traditional, they favor the traditional institutions more. And what are these traditional institutions? These traditional institutions, they can be like for example church. Like since we are talking about West, so they can be church or the religious institutions. Traditional institutions are the traditional aristocrats, like traditional nobility. Okay, traditional aristocrats means like nobility. They will be more in favor of nobility. That is the institutions which have traditionally remained in power. Okay. Then these people in the domain of economy, they favor capitalism. They do not favor forceful equal distribution of wealth. They favor capitalism. So this is their economic ideology. This is their political ideology when we say right wing ideology, right? And they favor the traditional institutions a little more, right? Extreme right wing, then you have Hitler, okay, you have Mussolini. Left wing ideology, it is more pro poor. ठीक है. मतलब ideology, left word कहां से आया? The word left came because Jacobins, they used to sit on the left hand side in the discussions of the National Assembly. That's why the word left has come. And the ideology which they had, gradually it came to be associated with left wing ideology. What ideology did they have? They had pro poor ideology. They were opposed to the middle class leaders. They were opposed to the middle class leaders in the National Assembly. The middle class, it favored capitalism. Okay? Whereas these people, they favored the, that there should be equal distribution of wealth. So this ideology, it got associated, since it is the ideology of the Jacobins, so therefore it got associated with this word left wing. Why? Because they used to sit on the left hand side. Okay? More on this you will be understanding when we discuss like Karl Marx etc. जब discuss करेंगे तो समझ में आएगा. ठीक है? Extreme right wing, yes, it is called as fascism. Now we have roughly 10 minutes left. So अभी क्या क्या रह गया है हमारा? इसमें नेपोलियन रह गया. नेपोलियन आज हमारा हो नहीं पाया. ठीक है. ओके. ठीक है. ये सारी चीजें हैं वो डिस्कस करेंगे. ठीक है. कोई नहीं. चलो. लेट मी ब्रीफली इंट्रोड्यूस नेपोलियन टू यू. नाउ नेपोलियन, अब बस आपको सुनना है और कुछ नहीं करना. ठीक है. नाउ हु वाज नेपोलियन? ठीक है. थोड़ा सा आपका 5 मिनट ज्यादा लूंगा, टोटल 15 मिनट लूंगा आपके. ठीक है. और अपना मैं टाइमर भी लगा लेता हूं यहां पे 15 मिनट का. We will discuss Napoleon in detail later on, but today, right now, you understand a story. Napoleon was a person who was not from France. Napoleon was not from France. Where was Napoleon from? In the next class, I'll show you the map, or you can Google yourself, a small place called Corsica. Corsica is in the Mediterranean Sea and it is below France. Okay? So Corsica. Around the time period of 1769, Corsica was a free place, and France had captured Corsica in 1769. When France had captured Corsica in 1769, in that very same year, Napoleon was being born. Napoleon took birth in 1769. So like Napoleon, Napoleon famously said that Napoleon dialogue बिल्कुल perfect मारता था. ठीक है? So Napoleon said that my birth cradle, it was surrounded by the tears and the cries of the oppressed people of Corsica. So Napoleon, to begin with, he was not from France, he was from Corsica. Corsica, it was annexed, it was taken over by the French in 1769. So therefore in 1789, how old is Napoleon? He is 20 years old. He hates France like anything. His father somehow was able to, take him, from Corsica to Paris to France, and his father was a leader. His father was a political leader in Corsica, and now he decided, after the French they took over Corsica, तो उसके बाप ने सोचा कि यार देखो इनको फ्रांस से लड़के तो कोई फायदा है नहीं, तो अब ये तो यही है पावर में, so it is better that I join the French. ठीक है, तो उसने join the French हो गया वैसे, और तो basically उसका थोड़ा बहुत रुतबा था. Meaning what I am trying to say is that Napoleon's family was not from France, and therefore Napoleon was not from the second estate. Napoleon was not a noble. Napoleon was not a noble, and in the year 1789, Napoleon was 20 years old. What was he doing? He was in the army, but in the army he was not at a senior position. Napoleon's father somehow got Napoleon into a school, okay, and that school was a military school, and gradually Napoleon developed an ambition. Napoleon was very, very ambitious. Napoleon was very, very ambitious, and he wanted to do something in life. But उसको ये चीज खाई जाती थी कि यार मैं noble तो हूं नहीं, I'm not a noble. So therefore, I'm working hard in this military school, but I will not be able to reach the heights in the military. I will not be able to become. I will not be able to become a senior military leader. Right? Why? Because I am not Napoleon. I am not from the nobility. So therefore, Napoleon को ये चीज बड़ी खाती थी. If you look at the diary of Napoleon, so Napoleon at times many times he contemplated suicide. Why? Because frustrated from this particular thing, that how I will be able to achieve, that kind of a status in life. Why? Because in France there is feudalism and I am not a noble. Had I been a noble, I would have been able to rise in the military. Napoleon को फेम बहुत अच्छी पसंद थी, फेम बहुत पसंद थी, ठीक है. So for example, at one point of time, Napoleon thought, okay, how to become famous? So he started writing history of Corsica, that maybe by doing this I will become famous in life. So therefore, if this is the persona of Napoleon, if this is the persona of Napoleon, then what will be his attitude when the French Revolution 1789 is taking place? So Napoleon, he would be very, very happy. Why he would be very happy? Because after the French Revolution of 1789, what will happen? Your common people who do not belong to the nobility, they can now rise in the hierarchy of military, they can now rise in the hierarchy of bureaucracy. The French Revolution 1789, it brings equality of opportunity to everyone. Military or bureaucracy, they are not the fiefdom of the nobility anymore. So therefore, the attitude of Napoleon would be that Napoleon would be very, very happy. Was Napoleon in France? Was he part of the French Revolution? No. Napoleon at that point of time, he was serving in the French military, right? So he was not even in Paris at that point of time when the French Revolution took place in 1789, right? So therefore, he was an onlooker, right? The second trait about the personality of Napoleon is that he was very, very disciplined kind of a person. He was a man of order. So therefore, he did not like the madness which was going on the streets of Paris in 1789. He did not like the riots which were happening. He did not like the people, becoming disorderly. He hated that, right? Because he is a man of discipline. But at the same time, he was happy that, okay, now my ambitions, they can be fulfilled. So he had a very positive attitude towards the French Revolution. A famous saying is that Napoleon was a child of French Revolution. but also its murderer. मतलब फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन की वजह से नेपोलियन बना, और फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन खत्म हुई किस वजह से? नेपोलियन की वजह से. Why? Because in 1804 Napoleon declared himself as the Emperor of France. 1792 France had become a republic. 1789 democracy is coming to France. But now in 1804 Napoleon declares himself as the emperor, and not a weak emperor, a very strong emperor. Therefore under Napoleon there is no democracy. And when there is no democracy, so therefore the things which the people of France they have fought for, the things for which the people of France have sacrificed so much, they have gone through the 1789 revolution, they have gone through the reign of terror of Robespierre, they are fighting the wars which have continued from 1792 and they will continue till 1815. So therefore all of that comes to an end when Napoleon declares himself as the emperor, because he is killing the republic. So that's why this particular statement is said that Napoleon was a child of the revolution but also its murderer. The next question comes, what was the attitude of Napoleon towards Robespierre? हमें उसकी personality के बारे में कुछ पता चलता है उससे. So he supported Robespierre. He was not in Paris at that point of time. He was fighting, because fighting has begun in 1792. So therefore he was not in Paris at that point of time, but he supported Robespierre. Why did he support Robespierre? Napoleon was of the view that, see, law and order is of paramount importance, and a state should have at its disposal each and every tool to ensure that there is law and order, that the French Revolution it is protected. So therefore he was not in favor of the the terror which is going on. ठीक है, so उसका attitude वो नहीं था कि ठीक है, but he is like, ठीक, he was like कि जब मुश्किल circumstances आते हैं तो उस टाइम पे हर टूल जो स्टेट के पास है वो यूज करना चाहिए, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली व्हाट वी नीड इज ऑर्डर. Right? So therefore he favored Robespierre that tough times they required draconian measures. So okay, ठीक है. अब अगला बात आता है, next point comes that भाई नेपोलियन फिर बना कैसे? How was Napoleon able to be Napoleon? His story it begins in 1794. In 1794 there is a port area, there is a coastal town called as Toulon, Toulon. Now that town in 1794 it had rebelled against France. Okay, it said that sorry, I'm in favor of the I'm not in favor of this French Revolution. I'm not in favor of these Robespierre etc. So basically I'm revolting. Okay, so that kind of thing is going on, and the British Navy it was present in that port town of Toulon. The French army it was fighting the Britishers in Toulon, where Toulon, and the French army was getting defeated. Napoleon at this point of time, thinks of a strategy, and he goes and tells that strategy to the military commander. Initially, the military commanders they are like, यार तू छोड़ना यार, तू क्या बात कर रहा है, तू कट यार यहाँ से, तू क्या कर रहा है यार, अपना काम कर यार, ठीक है, और जस्ट अब लाइक कैप्टन है तू, ठीक है कैप्टन है, क्या दिक्कत है, ठीक है कि स्ट्रैटेजी काम हमारा है यार, तू लोअर लेवल आदमी, राइट? सो देयरफॉर ठीक है, सो दैट इज द सिचुएशन. बट देन ही अगेन रिआइटरेट्स कि नहीं यार मेरी बात तो सुन लो, मेरे पास एक स्ट्रैटेजी, आई हैव अ स्ट्रैटेजी. सो देयरफॉर समहाउ वन ऑफ द जनरल्स he attended to this particular thing, and he found that the Napoleon's plan was really very effective. That plan it was put into implementation, and surprisingly, the French they were able to defeat the Britishers. And after this, Napoleon was promoted to a general level, a brigadier level. So therefore, at the age of 25, in 1794, Napoleon is 25, he is able to become brigadier. Now, two questions come into picture. The first question is कि भैया ऐसा क्या plan था? So this is like one part of the personality of Napoleon, that he was a great strategist. His warfare, it is said that Napoleon was a person who is like one of the first modern general in the history of the world. Like one of the first modern generals. The modern warfare किसकी उपज है? नेपोलियन की उपज है. Modern warfare जिस तरीके से होता है, it is Napoleon. In fact, later on when we see Hitler, so it can be said that Hitler also learned from Napoleon. Why was Hitler so successful when Germany was so weak? A lot of tactics they are of Napoleon. So what was the tactic? Tactic was something like this. So this is like, here water is there, right? And here the British ships are present, or ships, boats, they are present. Okay, it is a पोर्ट वाला टाउन, इट इज अ कोस्टल टाउन, राइट, एंड साइड में माउंटेन्स है या कुछ है, एंड दिस बैटल वाज गोइंग ऑन बिटवीन द नेवीज एंड द फ्रेंच, दे वर गेटिंग डिफीट. नेपोलियन ने, ठीक है, आज के टाइम पे आपको बड़ी सिंपल लगी, बट उस टाइम पे उसने स्ट्रैटेजी बताई दैट व्हाट वी शुड डू इज वी शुड माउंट these particular mountains, right, and what we should do is we should attack the ships from above. So therefore we should take a high ground and we should attack the British ships, and this is how we will take an advantage, right. So it was a मतलब commonsensical शायद से आपको लगे, but उस टाइम पे the French military was not able to devise कि क्या करें, जो भी topography होगी, जो भी होगा, right. So therefore just for the sake of GK, ठीक है, इस टाइप का कुछ था, ठीक है, and they were, so that is why he was able to be promoted to brigadier. Now in 1795 he is becoming brigadier. 1794-95 he is becoming brigadier. Brigadier कैसे बन पाया? In which country is a person who is just 25 years of age, he is able to become a brigadier? Can anyone tell me? कोई इतना बता सकता है? हाँ, हो गया टाइम. But can anyone tell me why at the age of 25 he will be able to become a brigadier? One last question and then we'll wrap up. Yes. Not marriage. He was marriage will help me. No. Because of the vacancies. Because of the vacancies. Because of the vacancies. After the 1792, when the war begins, a lot of these military generals, they are from the nobility obviously, so many of them, they have defected to the enemy, and as a result, a lot of vacancies are created. And since a lot of vacancies are created, so therefore the government of France, it wants such people who are able, right, to man the senior positions, and therefore since a lot of vacancy is there, as a result of it, he is able to get promoted to the brigadier level, right. So therefore that's why we see that the French Revolution, it contributed to the rise of Napoleon. So this is how his journey begins. In the next class we will be dealing with the story of Napoleon and how his rule impacted, positively impacted the French Revolution. Because of Napoleon, the French Revolution, it spread to the whole world. Because of Napoleon, decolonization took place in South America and Central America, right. Because of Napoleon, the Napoleonic Civil Code came in 1804 and it impacted, our uniform civil code will also be impacted, influenced by Napoleon. So therefore we will be discussing all of these things regarding Napoleon, okay. So we will meet in the next class. Thank you for your time.